tenure as the OU head coach. I'm Pete Mundo. We're Heartland College Sports Weekly, part of HeartlandCollegeSports.com, your independent Big 12 digital media outlet. So Lincoln Riley has been unusually vocal about something for a guy who, let's be honest, doesn't.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Empty backfield for Griffin. He has time, launches it to the end zone. Touchdown! Terrence Williams!
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Play clock winding down, they get to play off. Newton steps up, throws for the end zone. Olsen, touchdown! How about that?
Have you downloaded the SicEm365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
Fernando ready, and the strike two pitch is hit back to the box, dribbling to second. Samuel on the bag, throws to first, double play. Fernando Valenzuela has pitched a no-hitter at 10:17 in the evening of June the 29th, 1990.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Fly ball center field. Dave Henderson makes the call. A no-hitter for Dave Stewart.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. Week number 13. SicEm365 Radio in studio today. Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoke, Deontay Epps is with us. I'm David Smoke. Hope you've had a weekend that allowed you to relax, enjoy a little bit, whatever you possibly could. You just heard this hour brought to you by Waco Custom Marketplace. Brian Etheridge, one of the kahunas when it comes to the SicEm365 management. He, Ashley Hodge, Colt Barber, was in town and went by Waco Custom Meats, and on his Twitter feed at BE_SicEm365 put out a picture of a rubbed down tri-tip, an old rub that he learned from the island, and then he, as the day progressed, showed pictures of it afterwards. And then it went off on its own little thread about how many people go to Waco Custom Marketplace. Brian Bauer, the Bauer family, you just heard they sponsor this 3 o'clock hour. That's where I get bone-in ribeyes. And that was cool that Brian went by there and went by one of our sponsors. And that's a great way to start the show, because the tri-tip or the beef or the pork or the poultry, seafood, the bakery, and much, much more. All right, Kyron Jones from Shadow Creek High School. Craig, he's obviously, we've had him on. He's a commitment to Baylor. He's a part of that prestigious Elite 11 camp, and that starts today. Did I hear you say that was in Nashville? Is that where they're having that tournament? Oh, you don't remember?
Yeah, we talked about this like Thursday and Friday. It's in Nashville, and it's this week or whatever. It's look, I'm not as tapped into it as I normally would be. Just because of how weird things are. So, yeah, it's going on, but I'm not as locked into it, although I'll keep track and look for some stuff, but I'm not as locked in as I would be under normal circumstances.
I'm not expecting that. I was just saying it started today, and he's a part of it, right? Kyron Jones. So that's cool to have Baylor's commitment as quarterback. He's there along with what are numerous quarterbacks out of the state of Texas. So what do you think Jarrett Stidham's thinking today?
I'm sure, I don't know, part of him probably had to think that this was going to happen eventually, because were the Patriots really going to go into the season with him and Brian Hoyer as the other quarterback? I mean, is that what they were really going to do? Given that, that they're the Patriots, and I think they were just waiting out Cam Newton for the number to come down. And it did. I mean, it's $1 million plus guaranteed, and then it's $8 million if he hits certain incentives, and I'm sure he'll get part of the way there at least, because he's going to be the starter now. So, yeah, I'd probably be a little bummed if I were Jarrett Stidham, but I wouldn't be all that shocked.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Cam Newton now a member of the Patriots. So I'm thinking he's thinking that he's got competition now and that the starting job is not guaranteed because Cam Newton is now a member of the Patriots. So I've already seen some players, I think Richard Sherman crying about, how Cam had to sign a minimum deal or whatever. But, I mean, look, he's got a job now. There are reasons why Carolina didn't want him back, and there's reasons why it took this long for somebody to pick him up. And it's just funny how it seems to always fall in the Patriots' favor that you lose the franchise-changing quarterback. And I don't know how good Cam's going to be, but he was in a Super Bowl a few years ago. If they can find even a little bit of magic, then they could be, as dangerous as they normally are. But, it's going to be different from Brady, and who's to say Stidham doesn't win that job?
By the way, the odds of the Patriots winning the Super Bowl went from 25 to 1 to 20 to 1, and that's with the addition of Newton. I've seen videos of him working out. He looks like he's in great shape. He got cleaned up the shoulder. He had the problem with his shoulder. We'll see what happens. Now, Gil Brandt put this out there. The Patriots are the first team in NFL history to lose an MVP quarterback and replace him with yet another MVP quarterback in the same offseason. It is the third time a team has lost an MVP and added an MVP in the same offseason. The last time was the 2005 Cardinals had Kurt Warner and Emmitt Smith. The 2000 Dolphins, Dan Marino and Thurman Thomas. I didn't even remember that Thurman Thomas went to Miami. Did he finish?
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that.
Yeah.
Of course, was he on the downside at that particular time? So that's the first time, though, it's been quarterback to quarterback. Other times have been running backs and quarterbacks. And then the Patriots, and we'll have
Michael Hurley.
Michael Hurley from CBS Television up in Boston. He'll join us today at 5:30 on what's going on, what's being said there. The Patriots fined for that video of what was the television crew that was trying to film games, and apparently they were filming, or at least appeared to be trying to film what the Bengals were doing on the sideline. I had forgotten about that. Hurley very much says it's bogus. This is $1.1 million, and they lost a third-round pick. That's pretty steep.
Yeah.
And you wonder, do they have enough to do that, or is that just, you know what, you've done enough, we're tired of you, and we have to do something?
I think that's what that is. Is like, okay, Bill, he's going to try every advantage. And the thing about Bill Belichick that a lot of people don't realize is he knows the NFL rule book backwards and forwards. And a lot of times the NFL will have to make minor rule corrections because of things that Bill Belichick has done in games that they're like, well, we got to fix that. And Belichick knew it.
Kind of like the legal system, right?
Yeah, he knows every little thing. Everything, and so everything he's done is probably, he got fined for the Spygate thing was not on the line. It was over the line, but this thing was right. He found a way to push right to the line and maybe step a little over it with the Bengals deal.
All right, you're listening, we hope, in many ways of SicEm365 Radio on the app brought to you by Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, and or on YouTube or Periscope or online at SicEm365.com. All right, so Jim Sundberg will join us, I think he was a catcher in baseball for like 17 years, the Rangers for his first 10 years. Won a World Series. He's been a part of Rangers management. He's got a book out, Legacy Playbook, 50 Days of Encouragement to Pass on What Matters Most. That's from Jim Sundberg, won the World Series with Kansas City in '85, six-time Gold Glove Award winner. We'll have him today at 3:30. At 4:45, Teague head coach Donnie Osborne. At 5 o'clock, we'll have Philip Blake, who's with the Toronto Argonauts, former Baylor offensive lineman. And then also today at 5:30, Michael Hurley with CBS Television in Boston. The coronavirus update on how it affects sports. D-backs pitcher Mike Leake is opting out of the 2020 season. Craig, you mentioned he was risking the health of his loved ones, correct?
Yeah, he didn't come out with a specific reason, but basically said he's got personal reasons having to do with his family for why he doesn't want to play. So I think that, that'll stand as a good enough reason why. I don't think guys have to give any reason really whatsoever, quite frankly. I think they could just say, hey, I just don't want to play because of the virus, and that's going to be, enough of an answer. But, yes, apparently he's got some family things that makes it something he doesn't want to do.
Evan Grant of the Morning News covers the Rangers as word starts to trickle out about players who are opting out of the upcoming season. The Rangers are not aware yet of any players on their team who are considering making that choice. Washington won it all last year, right? They came back and ended up beating the Astros.
And apparently the Rangers are completely aware of the workers at their own offices that have coronavirus that they just don't really care that much about. I don't know if you guys saw that over the weekend, but the multiple Rangers employees that have gone on record to say that they feel like they're being forced to work under these circumstances away from home as opposed to being allowed to work from home. Because I guess it's stadium workers primarily. They're trying to get everything ready. So they had multiple employees who have been in and out of the offices testing or around, where put the stadium or whatever. They've been around and the virus is spreading. So, yeah, the Rangers, not very good look over the weekend, and I'm surprised it hadn't been talked about more today.
Didn't know anything about that.
No, I didn't either. No, that's the first I'm hearing of it. But I think that's what we're finding out with this virus is there's some people who are, willing to try different things, other people who just don't think it's real, I guess.
Staff say they are terrified for our safety amid virus tests. The Texas Rangers employees staff said Friday night they fear for their health and hope the organization will allow employees to work from home after feeling pressure to come in the office amid the rash of new coronavirus cases in Texas, and it gets into it more. But, yeah, that was a Friday news dump, if anything, and that's probably why it's not getting more attention.
Ryan Zimmerman opting out, is that right?
Yeah.
Of the 2020 season. That's a big-time player.
Yeah, when he was going to come back, he basically told the Nationals, look, I'm going to come back and play for you. I'm going to retire, or I'm going to retire. So they signed him to a one-year deal. He's not retiring. He said in his statement he's clear he's not retiring, but he has 3 kids at home, including a newborn and a wife who's apparently immunocompromised or at risk. So he's going to
Joe Ross, another
away.
one? Yeah. All right, those are a couple of 2 or 3 baseball players. Yankees, Nationals. Yankees because, well, they're the Yankees, the Nationals, the defending World Series champions, will open up, or at least headline baseball's opening day schedule on July 23rd. They have not yet, not sure exactly the schedule yet on the 23rd, but that game will be a part of it. Now, here are some things with baseball's rules changes. Craig gave me this. DH in the National League, we knew that. Extra innings runners will start on second base. We knew that. Mm-hmm. Arguing, brawling, spitting prohibited. If you even have to say that, that's dumb.
Well, it is baseball.
No pregame lineup card exchanges at home plate. That's one of those traditions that's been there forever. 3-batter minimum remains in effect. That's for a relief pitcher. Anyone that comes in out of the bullpen. How many teams are going to try to get around that by saying somebody tweaked an elbow or that's going to happen, right?
I'm sure they're going to.
How are they going to keep that? And any player may appear as a pitcher. Why wouldn't they?
Well, they had a new rule that was going to limit that because it was kind of getting ridiculous what was going on.
So if you blow your bullpen and there's 15th inning or 9th inning, or if you're getting beat 26-2 and there's nobody left to pitch, you just forfeit?
Well, there was a new rule about position players or how much position players could pitch because it started to get, it started to get kind of out of hand or something.
Hockey saying NHL 15 players have tested positive after 250-plus players gone through Phase 2 or during Phase 2. 11 additional players tested positive were not involved in the Phase 2 protocol. Rudy Gobert, he's the one that shut everything down, right?
Yeah, he's patient zero.
Yeah, first tested positive back in March. It was like the night before the Big 12 tournament, I believe, or the same day.
Coughed on the mics like a moron. Yeah.
Has still not regained his sense of smell. I smell it's still not 100%, but he still hasn't fully recovered, and that's been now 3 months.
Okay, by the way, so the rule about position players was they can only pitch when the score is separated by at least 6 runs or the game is in extra innings.
Okay.
So
Sydney Colson, she played at A&M, and she's with the Chicago Sky, WNBA. She tested positive. She was a part of that team in 2011 that stunned Baylor after Baylor had beaten them, 3 or 4 times in the regular season. And the Big 12 tournament, and they played again in Dallas. She was on that team, the guard, and she tested positive. This is interesting here. The U.S. Open golf, not so much this, but Fox had an 11-year or 12-year contract. They've asked to get out of it, and so NBC will get the U.S. Open whenever they play in mid to late September at Wingfoot, New York. NBC also owns the Golf Channel, and they just, I think, laid a bunch of people off. They're moving their headquarters from Orlando up to Connecticut. I mean, they just pared down a lot of their people, and now they're picking up the U.S. Open. They're still covering a lot of the tournaments. CBS, of course, covers a lot. The Golf Channel still does a lot of work, but that was interesting. And Kyle Jones of Baylor won the Korn Ferry tournament in Utah yesterday. I've been back and forth with him. We're going to maybe get him on. Here's what he said. He goes, travel and testing have just blown up my day, and they have an early week. They have a short week. I don't know if because it's the holiday weekend or they're playing a day early on the Korn Ferry Tour. And he goes, I'm sorry, I can't. Maybe tomorrow, so we might do something tomorrow. But he won the tournament in a three-man playoff yesterday in Utah. That's a pretty good story. He had only won $22,000 so far this year. Of course, a lot of tournaments had been canceled. And he won the tournament in a playoff yesterday. Here's a question I have for you. Under Armour is trying to get out of a $280 million deal with UCLA. Have you ever seen this before, other than if somebody has had something malicious and or criminal that someone's dropped their brand or said that they're not getting anything in return? What's a contract?
Yeah.
They just don't feel like UCLA's had a bad run in sports.
Yeah.
This could be interesting. Is this because of because what? Under Armour has recently made the difficult decision to discontinue our relationship with UCLA. This is like a couple of days old, but we have been paying for marketing benefits that we have not received for an extended time period. So in other words, they're calling UCLA out. You're not doing enough for us, and we're paying you a bunch of money. You got to at least perform, right?
I think UCLA is one of the worst-run athletic departments in the country.
Yeah, it's trash.
I mean,
it really is.
It's bad. I mean, they, there's all these, there's like romanticism about Pauley Pavilion, but you ask any athlete or person who's gone to Pauley Pavilion and asked them about playing in it, outside of the fact that that's the house that John Wooden won in, like there's no romanticism to it after you play in it. It's old and bad, and
Were you on that trip when we went to UCLA?
Yeah, actually I was. Yeah.
And you're right. It's an older place.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing other than the tradition and the memories and the banners and all that. We went there, and that was, my God, 20 years ago?
Yeah, it was early 2000s probably. And
football coach at UCLA had been at SFA, and he took us on a tour, on the tour.
Yeah, and got to see the outside of Pauley Pavilion and little parts of campus here and there. But, yeah, Under Armour just said that they've been paying for marketing, and they've not received they've been paying for marketing benefits that they've not received for an extended time period, and that their agreement, which was like a 15-year deal, so you thought, if you're a UCLA when you signed that you were good to go for, years and years and years, 15 years, $280 million deal, largest apparel deal at the time in the history of the NCAA. So, yeah, now Under Armour saying that they're not getting the marketing benefits and haven't for a while. Say they know it's been challenging time for apparel brands and sports programs, but they're trying to preserve their strength and maintain a strong network. And so they're looking at, trying to, I guess, move some things around.
What's the most successful program at UCLA right now?
What's the most successful Under Armour program? That'd be another question, because they haven't exactly been lighting the world on fire for a few years now. They had their top of the ride moment about 3 years ago with Steph was blowing it up and going crazy, and I don't know who else really heard that much about
Spieth.
Yeah, Spieth, but for the last couple years at least, Under Armour's been kind of forgettable, quite frankly. So I think they're hurting business-wise. They did not blow up and go compete with Nike, I think, like they thought they would. When Spieth and Curry were simultaneously just kind of setting the world on fire. So with, Jordan struggling and Curry getting hurt and all that, Warriors dynasty coming to a close, they are not exactly raking in the money right now.
Notre Dame is one.
Which is great.
Texas Tech.
But, they're probably paying out the wazoo for Notre Dame
Tech
as well.
Baseball and men's basketball, right? They got a
good.
few. Let's see. Auburn. There's a few. Cal,
But let me
Boston
ask
College.
you this: how much do you hear people talk about Under Armour versus like 2 years ago?
No. It's Navy, South Carolina. No, you're right. Texas Tech. You mentioned them. UCLA, Wisconsin.
They got a couple. They got a couple good, strong brands. Texas Tech in basketball, a couple years ago really was part of that great run that they were having, quite frankly. UCLA's non-factor in anything.
This is Jordan Spieth, Hunter Mahan, and Matthew Fitzpatrick are the only golfers on tour that are Under Armour connected. And Fitzpatrick's a very good young player. Hunter Mahan, of course, is a tested veteran.
Yeah, and you can understand why UCLA is saying that's not going to work for us, because that's about $15 million they got up front. They're getting $11 million per year in rights and marketing. And they also get $7+ million in shoes, equipment, and clothing each year. And they also $2 million over an 8-year span towards athletic facility upgrades. So between all of that, you can understand why UCLA is going to fight this.
We just mentioned Ryan Zimmerman. He's got a deal with them. Bryce Harper, Buster Posey. There's a few. But, they were – and we always not me. I never thought that anyone would ever catch Nike. Adidas has a better group. Mm-hmm. I never thought anyone would catch Nike. And who knows, that could always change. But, it seemed like Under Armour was hot 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. They were, and now.
Well, they lost 20% of their stock price in this first quarter of the year. And that was after, some signs that they were not doing as well as they had been a couple years ago. So, they could lose up to $60 million in the first quarter of this year, and I don't think that's all pandemic-related either. So that goes to show you what's going on with Under Armour right now.
All right, I got a question for you. Baylor has, of course, they're back working out, and we're supposed to get a report today. Should we get a report today from Baylor on the statistics on the positivity of any test or where they stand as far as after the number of tests have been run?
Hopefully not Clemson.
Hopefully not Clemson. If it continues to be about where they have been, that would be actually zero's the great news, but 3, 4, and 5 or so wouldn't be bad. The offense, the defense with what Phil Snow and what they did, and some of the staff, like, for example, Joey McGuire is still on that staff. But everyone else is new, right? On the defense, of course, Dave Aranda's a defensive mind, and then what we have the defense coordinator, Ron Roberts. You have any? They lost a lot of starts. We know that. 250, 60 starts. Do you feel like they're going to be okay?
I do.
Okay.
I mean, there might be a learning curve, but I think
keep hearing about that. But can they do anything on offense? The offense has a lot back. Mm-hmm. And the offensive line, you would think, just because of age and experience and yet another calendar year.
How is the offense anybody's concern? There's literally, no holes there. I mean, you've got loaded running backs. You got, who's going to replace Denzel? I feel pretty good about Tyquan Thornton and R.J. Sneed and whoever else they want to throw out there. Yusuf Terry, we've been hearing about him for 2 years. I mean, so there's 3 guys, and there's more. Tight ends has never been a strong suit, but they've got bodies there now. They've got 4 or 5 guys. Offensive line should be better. I mean, there's really no excuses for it at this point. So, and your senior quarterback. So, behind him, you even feel good about Jacob Zeno. I mean, I'm not that worried about the offense. And then Larry Fedora's running the show. So, I mean,
there you go. That's
I would think that my only concern about the offense, and maybe the defense probably the same in different regards, is that probably early on it's not going to look crisp. But that
not many will.
But that's going to be. Yeah. I mean, if you come out and you look crisp during this time,
you've been working out in a dome.
Yeah, somebody's been breaking the rules.
Now, here's the question though.
I mean, Tom Brady.
That was an offense that Matt ruled, and it worked. They were 9-0 and on the verge of being in the top 5. They had Oklahoma dead to rights. A defensive holding call. The bottom line is they were 9-0 and they were on the verge of being a top 5 team. They had a hell of a year. What were they, 10-3? Is that what the record was? 10-3 or 10-4?
10-3. Lost to Oklahoma twice and lost to Georgia.
It worked. What they were doing on offense worked. But at times, and if you kind of had paid attention along the way, there were times where they would frustrate you to death. It just seemed like it was the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah, they would run on 2nd and 8. And then put themselves into 3rd and long, or, just they'd have. It was weird. They would have series where they would look really good and almost look like the Bryles offense, where they'd score in 3 plays, and then they'd come back out and it would be 4 series in a row of 3 and outs or like 4 plays and punt. It was just, it felt very disjointed at times, and it never felt like there was sort of a consistency there, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So what? It worked though, right? Remember how
it worked.
It was how they complemented each other.
Right.
I would think that
but they're not going to be that way on offense this year. They're not going to be not 3 yards. That's unfair to say that because they did put up numbers. They're going to be much more. Let's go with Larry Fedora.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason that they never seemed all that consistent, or they never were able to be repetitively consistent, is that they were trying to do something that they just couldn't completely do, which was dominate the time of possession and win games up front of at the offensive line. They were okay at it. They just weren't really good at it, and so that's why they kind of had to, yo-yo back and forth a little bit. And this is not going to be that in the new offense.
No, and, I don't have any insight on how Glenn Thomas and Jeff Nixon work together and calling plays, and Matt Rule, putting his 2 cents in there as well. I mean, I know there were times where he would make a suggestion or say what they should do, but I don't know about you guys, but it felt like there were just sort of sometimes some throwaway series, like because the defense was playing so well that they just said, all right, defense is winning this game. And I know that they didn't trot the offense out there to go 3 and out, but it almost felt that way at times. Like the offense would come out and have such a poor, 3-down performance, and it's like, boom, punt right back on the field. I know Jeff Nixon and Glenn Thomas weren't intentionally trying to punt the football, but it just felt like at times that, they kind of just felt like, all right, well, the defense is going to win this game. You know what I mean? And I'm probably not explaining it all that well, but I don't know how else to explain it. There were throwaway series, it felt like at times.
It was milking.
Yeah, it was milking.
It was keeping the game from getting too hair on fire, although on occasion it would still do that. But you're right, because the defense.
They do it though when they're up 7 in like the second quarter. You know what I mean? It's like, look, you got a whole nother half to play. Like put a little bit of a lead out there, and they didn't always do that. And I know it wasn't for lack of trying or anything, but I don't know if that was part of.
But don't you have to do that early on? Because if you don't, then you're in a hair on fire moment. And I think that my whole point was that Jim Sundberg next. I just put this up on Twitter. Other than the fact there's been no practices, no spring drills, which is a big deal. What's your number one concern with Baylor football? You might as well discuss it, even though we don't know when they're going to start. But there were times when I think you tapped the brake early so that the brake didn't. You were going downhill, and you just wanted to make sure that you just didn't speed full. And there were, throwaway series is a good way to look at it. I don't think that's what they were doing,
right.
But it was almost as if we are so good on defense, we're not going to allow this thing to start becoming a sprint too early.
Yeah, and that made sense. But there were times, though, where
field position game.
Yeah, and they definitely played field position. So, I know there was some thinking behind it, but there were just some times where it was like, all right, just put a little extra points on the board and give yourself some breathing room instead of playing like a one-score game, even if you are confident out of this world.
It worked, though. And
it did. It didn't work against Oklahoma.
But it didn't work against Oklahoma because in the end, some of the points they could have had. But they still had a bunch of points at halftime. 3:28 when we come back. 17-year veteran Jim Sundberg, 6-time Gold Glove winner. He had a gun for an arm. He was part of Rangers management. He's got a book out, Legacy Playbook. He's going to be next. We're going to ask him about the upcoming season, what are thoughts he has. Also, later on, former Baylor all Southwest, all Big 12 offensive lineman Philip Blake, and more. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Buick Encores are the perfect crossover SUV with a roomy interior, a quiet ride, and they're packed with safety features and the latest tech. Right now, you can get a Buick Encore for only $19,900 at Richard Carr Motors. That's a saving of $6,000 on a 2020 Buick Encore. And they continue to be overloaded with used cars and trucks over at Richard Carr Motors, over 100 in stock. They have a lot of work to do to move these pre-owned vehicles. Right now, you can find over 20 used trucks in stock, all at discounted prices. But if you are looking for the new, if you're looking for some luxury, some style, some power, and you're looking for all of that in an SUV, then check out the line of Cadillacs as well, the XT4, XT5, or the very roomy 7-passenger Cadillac XT6. Right now, you get the XT4 for only $35,900 at Richard Carr Cadillac. Great prices, free oil changes when you buy a car, and in-town priority warranty service All comes with your purchase. At Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people you can count on. A local family dealer run by Baylor alumni. They just want a chance to earn your business. So stop by their daily disinfected showroom, see their safety-focused staff, or they can bring the test drive to your home. Your comfort and safety is their first priority. So find them at richardcarr.com or Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Well, I have to tell you that we're pretty proud here at Pickup Outfitters. The mayor of the city of Waco chose to deputize Pickup Outfitters into the Waco Mask Police Force. Now, we weren't necessarily looking to be deputized. We've been pretty busy fighting truck nudity, but hey, we're law-abiding citizens. The threat of a $1,000 fine if we didn't join the Mask Police Force also had something to do with it. So please, bring your mask with you to Pickup Outfitters. And if you don't have one, we'll provide one previously unused. And we have a couple of other requests. First, wear a mask that covers your mouth and nose but not your eyes, especially when driving to Pickup Outfitters. Second, we do have hand sanitizer, which you are welcome to use on your hands. Do not try to drink our hand sanitizer. Even if you add orange juice, it's still not a mimosa. And third, we have everything you need to outfit your naked truck. Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Jim Sundberg, 10 years with the Rangers, and then Milwaukee, won a World Series in his 2 years with Kansas City. Cubs for a couple of years, finished up with the Rangers, has been a part of the Rangers organization as well, and author of a new book, and we'll have that on and discuss that today as well. Jim Sundberg, a six-time Gold Glove winner, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Jim, thanks for your time. When you think of the Rangers and catchers, as good as you were and you had a gun, to have you, six-time Gold Glove winner, Pudge won a bunch of them as well. That's pretty good for one organization, right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty strange that you would have. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir.
Good to be with you guys. I think that it's rare that you would have that many Gold Gloves by two different catchers from one organization, and there's just a little bit of a space in between Yvonne and myself, and Yvonne picked up the slack and really took off with it.
Jim, now that baseball's on its way back and our nightmare of maybe thinking this wasn't going to happen is over, how do you think teams will have to position themselves for a 60-game season that will be different than what we're used to?
Well, there's no coming out of the chute slow. I mean, there's you can think of many seasons where a team came on in the second half and end up winning it. There won't be any of that. There might be a team that comes on the last 20 games or so, something of that nature. But there's no being slow. You got to kind of come out of the chute and play well. And my concern a little bit is just whether there's going to be enough practice time and stuff to where there won't be injuries. I know that they've expanded the roster to try to have a few more players, and that they kind of start at one level. I think it's 28 or 9, and then they start decreasing that down to 26, I think. And then they do not have any players for they don't have the minor leagues that they can bring up in September. But it's going to have to be a fast start and kind of hold on. And it's going to be a much different look. There's going to be players that have a 60 game stretch that's pretty good, and some that are not going to get out of the chute.
Jim, as the back and forth was going on between the players union and the owners, a lot of people, were picking sides, and, mostly I think fans, they just wanted to see baseball regardless of how we got there. But, you had the owners, blaming it on the players saying it's the owners. Just how did you view the sort of back and forth before that emergency lever was eventually pulled? And are you surprised that we're having a season, quite frankly?
I'm not surprised we're having a season. And I'm not surprised that the back and forth between the players union and the owners is there. I was part of, I think it's 3 work stoppages in my career, and so very familiar with the process. And knew 6 weeks ago that it would take most of June before they would actually get to some of their questions answered. But I'm still a little reluctant. I'm the way things are changing. Up here recently in Tarrant County, which is in the mid-cities area of the Dallas-Fort Worth, they just made it mandatory for masks out in public. And I'm just wondering just what's going to happen between now and the start of the season, if there's going to be any repositioning, rejuggling, exactly where the fans are going to be part of this, if not at all. And so it's going to be an interesting, I think, another interesting 5-6 weeks as we build up to the start of the season.
Yeah, it could change tomorrow. It could change by the end of the week. Obviously, what the governor's done has changed what he initially, but he did say phases, and then he said, okay, wait a minute, we got to do this. And there's always it all just depends on where people are, and sometimes it becomes political as well. Jim, as a player,
right,
they were in camp, shut it down, and they've done nothing since then. We've had a few players on that have said they've, like, for example, Max Muncy, they've still gone to the cage. They've done some work. Yep. How long do you think you need? Is there, if everything stays on course, is there enough time, you think, to be sharp once the season begins?
I think so. The main thing is how much has the pitcher's been throwing. I'm sure that everybody has been doing some work on the side. You mentioned the hitters, and the hitters being having cages and places to hit, pitchers having places to work out, and so forth. And if they're in pretty good shape, if their legs are in good shape, and the arms are in good shape, then 3 weeks is probably enough to get it cranked up after having already spent a few weeks in spring training. But it all depends on how frequently and how hard the players have actually worked out in this time period.
Jim, you caught for a long time. You were consistent for a long time. Catching is definitely the hardest position on any baseball player's body. What was your key to being consistent and not letting that and keeping kind of ahead of the curve, where some guys it just you just can't?
Well, I think part of it is really taking care of yourself. You really can't be a regular player, and specifically catching in Texas, and not be thinking the entire day about how to conserve energy and how to when to eat and what to put into your body. I know that early in my career I tried to play some golf, and when I was younger I could play a little bit of golf and then go to the game. But as the career worked its way on, and as I got a little bit older, I really couldn't do those kinds of things. Everything was spent taking care of yourself and making sure that you were ready. And to be honest with you, I never thought I could really figure out how the heat. It always affected my offense later on in the season. The bat always felt a little heavy and got a little slow. And I think the game load, I caught 1,400 games my first 10 years in Texas. And that included a strike season in which there was only 100 games played. And so I averaged much more over those 10 years than what the 140 games show. And it's just awful hard to catch that many games and be sharp offensively.
So having said that, with their new stadium, how significant do you think that will be for the players to not be out there in 100-degree temps, for the last 3 months of the season?
I think it's going to be huge, especially pregame. I think that's where the huge difference was. If we had to be out on the field, hour and a half pregame, and occasionally they got to a point where we could take our hitting and go inside and rest. But for the most part, the team is out on the field in that heat, and so by having the air-conditioned place during practice and then having it during the game is going to be, I think, a huge positive factor for the Texas club.
I just realized you were on All-Star 3 times and played on some teams that at times were okay, but some of them weren't very good. You made the All-Star team the year you were traded to Milwaukee. Was that a year in which you were reinvigorated? Not that you weren't playing well, but was that a year where you were even more or extra motivated?
Yeah, I call it the year of recovery, actually, the 1984 season. We actually lived in a house that close to the lakefront where we didn't even need an air conditioning unit in the house.
Wow.
That's how it was kind of cooled. Within 2 to 3 blocks of Lake Michigan, there was always a different temperature factor. And so to be in Milwaukee that year was definitely a year of recovery and a year of going to the All-Star game. And when I left Texas, the 10th year was a very difficult season, with a manager, and not sure I really wanted to play anymore. But I had 3 years left on a contract, and it's not as if I could quit in the middle of that. I kind of had to work through it and play it out. And of course, obviously, I'm glad I did because we went to the All-Star game in '84 and then the World Series in '85.
Jim Sundberg with us on SicEm365 Radio.
Which pitcher that you caught was the easiest to call a game for, and which one was the most difficult?
I would say the easiest was Ferguson Jenkins. Fergie was obviously he's a Hall of Famer. He was a 7-time 20-game winner. He was is amazing just how his location was, and how he could spot a ball anytime he wanted to. I think him and Greg Maddux, he was another guy I caught. They're probably the two control artists of all time. They just could spot the ball and put it where they wanted to. Maddux changing a little more speed and using both parts of the plate, I think a little bit more than what Fergie did. Fergie had an outstanding curveball and slider, could spot his fastball wherever he wanted to. Great command. The hardest to catch was Charlie Huff, the knuckleballer, and I think the hardest to call a game it was Tom Candiotti before he started throwing the knuckleball. I could never figure out what Candy wanted to throw, and but I would say Charlie and Candiotti were not fun to work behind the plate.
You didn't know what he was going to throw? That's as a catcher, that's a little bit dangerous.
Well, I think I was putting down 3 and 4 signals all the time, and he kept shaking me off. I had no clue what he wanted to throw. I initially knew what he was going to throw, but I had no idea of where his mind was, and he got beat around pretty good.
Jim, your defense was incredible. I mean, all the Gold Gloves, nearly a perfect fielding percentage, and go down a list of stats. And offensively, you do your thing as well. But defensively, just how much work was put in, and what type of work was put into being as good as you were defensively?
Well, I was naturally gifted defensively a little more than offense. My bat speed is not in the top of the speed zones of Major League Baseball at the time I was playing, but good enough to be an average hitter. I had some years. I had about 5-6 years there where I was in the 270s, hit 291 one year, and but the defense is what got me to the big leagues, and it's really what comes naturally to me. I had very quick feet, quick hands, quick release, strong arm. And so those things were very like brushing teeth in the morning and at night. It was very natural for me to do the defensive thing.
The 74 team was your debut, and you played and caught 132 games. That team ended up only 4 or 5 games back from the great Oakland team that year. You had the MVP in Burroughs, Rookie of the Year Mike Hargrove. I thought Fergie Jenkins, a bias, should have won the Cy Young at 25 and 12. That was the third year the Rangers were in Arlington. That was almost a breakthrough year in year 3. What would that have done to change the franchise had that happened?
Well, Fergie ended up, before I answer that, Fergie ended up winning the Comeback Player of the Year. Billy Martin was Manager of the Year. So we had a couple more awards. And going into the last week of the season, we were only 3 games back of Oakland, and they were coming in to play 3 games. And so we had a chance, even there in that last week, to catch them at home, but actually lost, I believe, all 3 games. And I think we finished 5 or 6 games back that year.
Right.
But we were very close up to that last week when you look at it, and it changed things the next year. I mean, we drew the I think $1 million for the first time in '74. We increased that in '75, and it changed things up a little bit. But a championship back in that time period would have almost been premature before the stadium. We almost didn't have the fans coming, at that time. I was known when I was introduced in the early 70s. When I was introduced around the area, people thought I was in law enforcement when they said he's with the Texas Rangers. So it took a while before people knew who the Texas Rangers were. But I'm sure winning a World Series early or getting into postseason would have made a huge difference.
Well, there's no doubt you were a part of the organization when they had the great run with Ron Washington, Nolan Ryan, J.D. You were a part of that as well, and they were so close, almost to the point where it's still, on occasions, I have nightmares of Game 6. But how difficult was that? How fun was it, but how difficult was that with you actually being a Rangers player and also being a part of the organization?
Yeah. It was the best of both ends. It was amazingly, I think, a great success, and then on the other end, it was very disappointing, and especially the loss in the World Series against the Cardinals. That was a huge disappointment. If you're at that series, it was there's no explaining what happened in Game 6, and knew that the Rangers would have a difficult time going to Game 7. The atmosphere in the front office was not easy to deal with. Almost from the time Ryan came in to the very end, I had actually brokered Nolan into the organization. It was probably the best off the field decision that I had made. That there was a couple other significant ones when it comes to branding. I was the one that because of the jerseys today and the memorabilia and the apparel, Texas, I took Texas, the name Texas, to Nolan and said, we've got to brand it higher than the Rangers because you're from Texas and it would make sense. And so he got behind that, and it was at that time where we actually branded Texas as well as having the success we did in postseason. But there was a time where 6 years down the road, we were talking and we discussed that there was about 6 months of peace that we had in those 6 years. Even though we were winning, it was there were significant personalities, and at times was making it difficult to really enjoy the winning.
Are you trying to be nice about the fact that's why no one left?
Yes, that's why. And I left about 7 months after that. So it was a great run. We were able to break fan records. We got up to 3.4 million, which will never be in the new stadium. There's not enough seats to actually break that record. And so there was a lot of good things going. It was a fan-friendly, family-friendly place to be, and there were a lot of good things that happened in that time period.
Do you have a good Billy Martin story for us before we let you go?
There are tons of good Billy Martin stories, but there was one that there was one that happened in Minnesota in his second year. And I was catching Ferguson Jenkins, and the bases were loaded, and Dan Ford hit a ball past Fergie up into center field and scored a couple runs. Well, it was on a pitch that Billy didn't want, and I didn't really call it, and Fergie was the one that really decided to throw it. And so when I got to the dugout, Billy jumped me big time. And it was the only time in my career, the time that we were together, that I jumped back in Billy's face and said, "I didn't throw it. Fergie threw it. You go talk to Fergie." And he kind of was in shock for a second and kind of jumped back. And then he told me I was out of the game. You're out of the game. Go sit on the bench. And normally when you're out of the game, you can go to the locker room and get a shower. Well, I had to go sit on the end of the bench. And every time I looked at Billy, he was giving me these shame-filled looks that like I was a bad boy of some kind. And then after the game, I went in the locker room, and fortunately, the president of the Rangers was there along with the owner, and the president and Billy were face-to-face in an argument. Billy wanted to send me to the minor league because of it, and Bobby Brown, the American League president and the Fort Worth cardiologist, he said, "You'll send him down over my dead body." And it was about 2 weeks after that Billy was fired, actually.
Wow. So Jim Sundberg got Billy Martin fired. That's
Hold on, I need to go to
a
Twitter.
More to that, but you're right.
Breaking news.
Hold on, I'm going to put that on Twitter
36 years later or whatever.
Hey, Billy Martin was pretty good at getting Billy Martin fired.
No, he didn't need any help. Jim, you have written a book, Legacy Playbook. When I reached out to you yesterday, and all these baseball memories, we could and easily talk for a long time. I know you got to go, but Legacy Playbook, 50 days of encouragement to pass on what matters most. It's a devotional. You have, in fact, there's a website for you to do speaking engagements and all that. Tell us kind of how this came about.
Well, it's kind of the book I've always wanted to write. A number of years ago, my wife and I wrote a book, How to Win in Sports Parenting, that an editor wanted us to write, and it wasn't necessarily the book I wanted to write, but it was a book that he felt was needed in the culture at that time, which is still needed today. But this is the one I wanted to write something that really covered my faith, and yet it was something of substance. It wasn't just baseball stories and personal stories. I've got 50 baseball and personal stories in there that go day by day. Some people, I'm getting feedback, are reading it all the way through, and then they're going back and kind of going through the devotional part of it. But I wanted to do a mix of something that dealt with my faith and then my experiences in baseball and everything connected to baseball. So I've gotten a good response. It's been out just a couple of weeks and been getting a good response on it, and really thrilled about it. But you can go to jimsundberg.com to get a copy, and an autographed copy actually, and if you put in Jim, the code Jim, then you get a discount on that. So anyway, I appreciate you letting me say that.
Yeah, how long is that something you had kept notes along the way, and you just decided to put it in book form?
Well, it took a year to write. I sat on it a year, and then I started finishing it in February of this year. Putting some touches on it, but it took a lifetime to write in this sense. I mean, there's a lifetime of stories going back to when I was 5 years old and first started playing baseball, and I grew up across from a ballpark. That was kind of my playground, and that's where I learned competition and everything. And so it goes all the way through childhood and into the professional ranks, and a couple of stories in there about the postseason and the World Series.
Well, I just went online. It's very simple to do it. Absolutely simple to do it. JimSundberg.com. The book is like $16.95, and of course there's a little shipping, but that's no problem at all. Jim, thank you very much for the memories, reminiscing, and also so many great stories as well along the way. We appreciate it, and good luck with the book.
All right. Thank you, guys. Good to be on with you.
Yes, sir. Jim Sundberg. JimSundberg.com. You can go there. You can add how many books you want. As he mentioned, you can type in Jim 1695, 50 Days of Encouragement to pass on what matters most for men and women, and you can get a personally signed autograph as well. And with the purchase, you can also then purchase the other book, How to Win at Sports Parenting, at $9.95. Six-time Gold Glover. He had a rocket of an arm. Rangers have had some defensive catchers now. Of course, like you said, if you put Pudge, how many Gold Gloves did he win? 12, 13, something like that?
Yeah, and that's a pretty – I mean, they had a pretty steady gap of good catchers. It was him, Mike Stanley, Gino Petralli, and then Pudge.
Yeah.
So not bad.
Yeah, and Pudge Rodriguez, of course, golly, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Pudge, how many Gold Gloves did he have? 14-time All-Star, 13-time Gold Glove, not all with the Rangers, some of them with Detroit, also a couple of times with the Tigers, and I think maybe the rest of them with the Rangers. And baseball's Hall of Fame. 76% of the ballot, he got just above. And he got attached a little bit to the steroid era.
Yeah.
But he got in at 76%.
Yeah. I care less and less about the steroid era. I mean, I didn't care about it that much at the beginning. I care less and less about it with each passing day.
All right. When we come back, the 4 o'clock hour, we'll go back to the topic I asked on Twitter, and it's gotten some response, and a lot of them are negative. I mean, I'm not talking about negative about players, but negative about the NCAA and the ruling over the Bryles era. But my question is this.
What does that have to do with what was asked?
In your opinion, other than no spring drills and no practice time with coaches and players, and yes, that's a big deal, what is your biggest concern with Baylor football this season? This is a wide open discussion, and now we've got a thread on whether the season is going to begin or not. I understand it might not begin. We understand that.
Look, we understand everything is negative. Can we not be negative for like 5 seconds?
So, like Mike made a nice point. Replacing Lynch, Roy Lockhart, being that strong up front was such a difference maker. I absolutely agree, and that's something that they have to work on. Charlie Brewer's health, I get it. This is SicEm365 Radio. Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. And order 30-pound bags of live crawfish by noon on Thursday and pick up on Friday to enjoy the weekend. Live crawfish available right now. And Waco Custom Marketplace doors are open for business Monday through Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. And crawfish boil boxes available as well. Make your order for live crawfish by noon on Thursday. Pick up on Friday for the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh kolaches, cinnamon rolls, and baked bread daily. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, and house-cured and smoked bacon. Spices, seasonings, soup mixes, charcoal, and lighter fluid. Waco Custom Marketplace, doors open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5, 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through, and business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Bringing pressure this time. Newton nowhere to go, but he got away from Billy Wynn and got the first down with a leap over Darius Butler. All can.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
SicEm365 Radio, we start hour number 2, week number 13. Pretty soon we're going to get to a point for some reason where I'm going to forget the weeks, but 13. And so this is episode 61. Roger Maris broke Babe Ruth's record.
Yeah, I should have thought about that.
61 home runs on this.
I picked for the Open, you heard the 2 no-hitter highlights I had. One was from Vin Scully, and you heard I let it play out so he could say the date. So 30 years ago today was the first time that 2 no-hitter in each league had been thrown. Fernando Valenzuela threw one, and so did Dave Stewart for the A's.
Yeah, I heard the Fernando Valenzuela, and what a great story. And I don't remember his first year. But in the 70s, you had that Red Sox team in 75 with Jim Rice and Freddie Lynn, 2 young, kind of unknown guys. I don't remember when Valenzuela started, but I want to think that was in the late 70s.
I think it was 1980.
I thought I was in college at the time, which is 30, 40 years ago. That in itself is a story. But
yeah, 1980.
Yeah. So what is or what are your biggest concerns about Baylor football this season? It's a random, generic, and you know what? I want to get to this, and someone said the concerns about the NCAA and the God, do you live in fear all your life every day? I know some people do right now because of the concerns, but football.
Okay. Hey, coronavirus is real. The NCAA is essentially not anymore. Yes, I really think that they're akin to Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, the Boogeyman, whatever you want to say, because they might come down and say, Baylor, here's our thing. But then ultimately, what's going to happen? What's happened to anyone? Anyone.
So that's and that doesn't so much. It could put a dampen. You could dampen the season.
I mean, the thing about that is, if that's something you're worried about, and I get why, but you've been worrying about it for nearly 5 years now. I mean, think about that. If you are at constant, and not like in constant fear, like you wake up and you're thinking about, oh my gosh, impending sanctions. But look, it's going to get settled at some point. But any energy wasted on like when it's going to happen and oh my gosh, what's it going to be? And, like, it's just a waste of energy. It's a waste of time because it could be 3 years from now, for all we know, people. I mean, think about it. Like,
or it could come down, and it could be 3 years before it's really settled.
Yeah, I mean, and like I have all along maintained that what I think the NCAA is doing is they're waiting for the trials to play out, and those start later this year. So that'll be more fun headed up in 2020. But yeah, that's gonna, I think, really set the table for them, and they're gonna see what happens there. Even though they're not supposed to be doing that, I don't believe. They should have come out with a penalty long ago. I don't know what new information is actually out there, unless they're hoping that Baylor wouldn't have passed along to them at this point, because even things that would have been put in trial, I feel like the NCAA would have at least some knowledge of. So, I don't know what the holdup is. I know it's not at the forefront of what they're trying to, do right now, because they're just worried about getting a college football season going. And that is the most important thing at the moment. But, I had a time period there back when everything was really hot and heavy where I stressed and worried over, oh, my gosh, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? And I realized after a while of just being miserable that me fretting over everything and, worrying about the most extreme of penalties. I mean, look, it's June 29th, 2020, and I was doing that back in 2017, and nothing has changed. Like, nothing has changed. In 3 years, nothing has changed. So,
but here we are now. You're right. And I used to let that kind of get to me as well. First answer, Taft, Briles, or rule not there. An adverse NCAA ruling being handed down from the Briles era. The defense with only 2 remaining starters, no spring practice to learn the new defense. Replacing Lynch, Roy. Okay, we mentioned Mike. An injured Charlie Brewer.
He's not still injured.
I
hope
seen
everybody
Charlie
realizes
Brewer,
that.
and I think Charlie Brewer, and this might be completely backwards. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a trainer. I'm not any of that. But is there a chance maybe in his case of decompression time these last 6 months by not having football, and he has a chance to let his body rest?
Oh, I think it's going to be great for him. I think he took enough of a beating last year where it was going to be really tough.
He looked like he still, looked in great shape. Now that, again, there's a great shape in football. He looked fine to me.
I think the concern for Charlie Brewer is legitimate. I mean, I don't know that would be the first area I go to, but hey, we're asking for people's opinions, and that was, somebody's first thought. And I can understand. I mean, shoot, when we had, like Don Truhl was on with us, and we're asking him about the upcoming team, and what's the first thing that he says? I believe it was Don Truhl's like, I hope the quarterback's healthy. So it's not like it's some big secret that's a concern for everybody, and I can understand why that would be on the forefront. But I do think that with the amount of time that they've had off and the lack of contact and everything else, that this is the healthiest Charlie Brewer has been since he started playing football, probably.
I bet he's probably biting at the bit.
Yeah.
Here's Vlad the Impaler. Honestly, I wonder if there's a college football will be played at all. And I get that. I'm trying. You know what I'm trying?
Let's just say that it's going to be
pretend
played.
There is.
For all the coaches and all the programs, it's injury prevention. This is from 61 properties. Big step back, assuming we play. The mid-year and full-year stats are going to look. Then next, the season actually happening. I am trying. My God, am I communicating this correctly?
No, I think you need to edit the tweet. No, you can't edit a tweet. You need to put out a new tweet and say, look, assuming the season happens, just let's say the season happens. That's what you need.
That's what I've said to those who. Okay.
Yeah, but after the fact, it's the damage
from
is already
Leon.
done.
From Leon. Will we even play a game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got our
team
most popular
gel,
answer.
And then Matt in D.C., biggest concern, offensive line stepping up from a year ago, timing of receivers with Charlie, the new offense, and how do we get to 10 wins?
Yeah. Look, I guess the way that people are thinking right now is like we're standing in a forest full of like wild animals, and our biggest concern is we're going to get eaten by a wild animal. I get it. But let's just assume that we have our defenses up. we can't get eaten by a wild animal. Let's move to the second concern about what that is. So, yeah, I get that. But yeah, I think the O-line to me is going to be always going to be the biggest concern until they show they can play 12 consistent games or straight through and not have these gaps of like, oh man, that was a really bad game. I mean, because there were games last year. Casey Phillips had to play against West Virginia, and what were those guys named? The brothers on the defensive line for West Virginia last year?
Oh, yeah.
They ate him alive. And it wasn't because he's a bad offensive lineman. It's because they knew what they were doing, and he didn't yet.
Yeah, I realize it's hard to play pretend when everything around you does feel like it's on fire, but for the love of all things sports, we got to take a break from freaking out over everything every once in a while. So that's what we're attempting to do here. My biggest concern, other than if we have it, no, I'm just kidding, would be just the lack of actual practice time with these coaches and these players. They can Zoom all day. You can Zoom 24/7, but they haven't been on the field together really at all. And the least you can say for Tom Herman in Texas or for Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma is that they know these guys. They know what their players can do. Now, they still have to iron out some things, and even players who what they can do could potentially return to campus and not be in shape, and so there's some things to adjust there. But for the most part, you know what you have. And I know that Ron Roberts and Larry Fedora and Dave Aranda have done their due diligence and everything like that, but they like I said, they can study all they want to, but they still have not been out there on the field with these guys. And so that's a late start. If they had spring ball and at least had maybe a couple of weeks of that and then had this break off, that would have been a little bit different. But considering that they didn't have anything and now they're going to go play a season, like literally their first practice when this starts to get ramped up for the season is going to be their first practice under Dave Aranda.
I know.
So that's my biggest concern is just the language and all the studying. That's taking care of some of the things, but the actual working together and playing football together and coaching together and doing all those things, we have yet to see one iota of that.
We'll have Donnie Osborne, the head coach at Teague, at 4:45. Former Baylor lineman Philip Blake, who's now in the CFL, at 5. And also we'll talk about the Patriots and Cam Newton. 254-339-1122. That's the number to call. Your biggest concern, Baylor football, if games are played. If they're played. Matt in D.C., we mentioned yours. I got a couple of others. I'll come back with T-Rex because, T-Rex is kind of out there, and he has something that made me giggle, and that's good.
Yeah.
254-339-1122. If the games are played, in your opinion, other than no spring drills and no practice time with coaches and players, and yes, that's a big deal, what is your biggest concern with Baylor football? And if you want to bring in spring drills and no practice time, that's absolutely, to me, that would be the number one thing. 254-339-1122. That's on the text line. That's on the phone call. This is SicEm365 Radio. Today at 5 o'clock, the gym, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, opened up their door, and they'll be open until late tonight. All the way through Thursday, Friday and Saturday, Sunday, they're also open. In fact, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on both Saturday and Sunday. There was a time when they didn't open up until noon on Sunday. Now they open up the doors early. There was a tennis tournament this past weekend, and while that was going on, there were people, individuals and or group exercise classes or trainers training members to get yourself or stay yourself in shape. There's a guy that started to work out at the gym about a week or two ago. The first time he was there, he almost didn't get through the day. I mean, he reminded me of me back in 2013. I'd do a workout with Christy London. I'd go back in the men's locker room, and I would lay on the couch, and I felt like I was going to die. And now it's been a week or two later, and you can kind of tell that he's starting to get a little bit better, more confident in what he's doing. That's what it's about, but you have to walk through the front door. You have to walk through the front door. There's Tennis 101, and there are some, I said to you this last week, I was taking a class. There's a couple of young guys over on the tennis court. They were going at it, and I mean, they were fantastic. With pros, Joe Rosa and Britt Coleman. Trainers, Christy London and Randall Corley. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, they're keeping safe, the social distancing, all of the stuff you need, the disinfectant, wiping everything down on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He is the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more.
Thank you for calling Call-In Studios host and call screener.
Why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Enter your 6-digit PIN number. Welcome.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
Ram, a legend of loyalty. Alan Samuels, legendary customer loyalty. Now bringing you special Ram pricing to kick off summer. Pick the perfect Ram 1500 regular cab with special incentives, including $500 additional first responder bonus cash. Now just $22,990. Or pick up a loaded up new Ram 2500 HD Limited 4x4, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Now with up to $12,000 in savings. Drive forward. Ram from Alan Samuels.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Over the next few days, remember Cliff Odom? Craig, that was before you got here. Cliff Odom, his dad played a long time in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's now at Eastern Illinois University. He'll join us. He's a former Baylor defensive back. Jerry Levias, he'll join us.
That's a guy who's got some stories now.
Oh,
I mean, he's got some stories and very relevant for our place in history right now.
Don Beebe, Larry Cole, Quincy Carter.
But, Jerry Levias being the first black player in the Southwest Conference. And
he was the second.
The second?
Yeah.
Was it the second? Okay.
First or second, yeah.
Yeah. One of the first ones there. And he was the first real star player, I believe, too. And I can't imagine what he had to go through in the 60s. I can't imagine what that was like and how tough you had to be to deal with that.
Brandon Boyd, by the way, the call-in service you used was just live on the air. We have a call-in service that's really kind of brilliant. It is almost like it's not an answering machine or answering service, but allows you to call in, kind of state what you want, and then we grab it and then bring you in. Thank you for letting us know that. Number to call, 254-339-1122. I'll do this because we have made it open for topics. 254-339-1122. If you call today, we have rounds of golf, a round of golf for free on Cottonwood Creek. It's your call. You can do it. You give us a call. We'll get your number. We'll also then get your address. I'll send that to you. 254-339-1122 is that number. Brandon also said, hey, no sweat. Enjoy the show. For some reason, I was just worried about a SicEm365 pregame show. Brad, the defense and Brewer staying healthy. Now, let's break that down. Charlie Brewer, I think the last 6 months of basically with 3 months of no football, perhaps that may be refreshing for him. I'm sure he would rather be practicing with the fellas, right?
I think the worst part about Larry Fedora not watching film was he didn't get to see the ragdoll dummy that Charlie Brewer was. I think that he should watch film from last year just to see how much of a ragdoll Charlie Brewer was over the last 3 years. So hopefully he can take that into account when, I know he's not designing an offense where he plans on the quarterback getting hit a lot, but I think that maybe Fedora's offense can alleviate some of those hits that Charlie was taking, hopefully. I don't know, but certainly his health was top of mind last year. I mean, who knows what happens, in a couple of those games if he's able to actually finish them out. And we know he wasn't quite right in that Big 12 championship game before exiting. So, his health is certainly paramount. But I will say, I think most people feel really good, not necessarily about Gary Bohannon, because he's kind of, in a spot right now where – you got to be careful of getting somebody jumping over you, and I think a lot of people feel good about Jacob Zeno and what he could potentially do. So you do feel good about the backup quarterback spot, but certainly, this is your senior QB. You want him to have that fun last ride.
Like I said, I saw him. He looks refreshed. He does. Now, John Westbrook, who played at Baylor, was the first African-American football player to play in the Southwest Conference. Jerry Levias was second. They both have stories to tell. Obviously, John Westbrook, he passed away at the tender age of 36 years old in 1983. I got to get to this Andy Staples story in a minute, but a lot more of you now on Twitter and also 254-339-1122. Brandon, thanks for the text, tweets. Brad, you too. From G-Dub. 5. Who fits where on defense? Raw talent that needs reps. And there's a lot of young guys, and that's one of the concerns. Some of them got a lot of reps last year. As you brought up, Paul and Craig, before, that's the one thing they did. They played a lot of people last year. Some of them are back. They're not starters, but they played a lot. And I'll be interested, the pass rusher from Arkansas State. You have whether or not the kid from Iowa is going to be able to play. So there's some players they've been a part of this.
There's another LSU linebacker, by the way, in the transfer portal.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go after him.
From Susie, and I don't feel like I know enough about the majority of coaches or players yet to be concerned other than the lack of time together. That would be, and I probably should have said other than that's a big deal.
Yeah, I saw, you're talking about Marcel Brooks, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Marcel Brooks, who was a very highly rated guy, Colt or maybe Brian Grayson, I'm sure, could elaborate a bit more, but the feeling was from, if you're a member of the premium section, here you go. Here's a reason, and we've already provided you with many, but here's another one. But if you were on the premium section over the weekend, then you caught the drift that despite the automatic assumption that, oh my gosh, Marcel Brooks, linebacker, they need linebackers, he's from LSU, he's pretty good. Dave Aranda, go get him. I think TCU is looking more like the likely choice for him, and that Baylor may not have a whole lot of interest. So there you go. There's a little insight from the premium section.
Here's from Leon again on the text line, brought to you Riverbend Liquor and Wine. The team gelling to play as a unit, coaches and players both. Matt, as I mentioned, the offensive line stepping up. Some of the other responses on Twitter from Parker. Charlie Brewer skull, I'm worried sick for that kid. Love his passion, hate the potential long-term consequences. Parker, I'm going to tell you this. I know that there's a lot of conspiracy theorists, and I know he's taken a beating. He looks refreshed. Now, that doesn't mean the first time he takes a hit that he doesn't have problems.
And that doesn't mean that he doesn't have still effects from all the previous hits that he's taken.
Exactly.
I would say my best piece of advice to fans who worry about Charlie Brewer, and look, I'm somebody who worries about Charlie Brewer myself, but please realize that not every injury, mind you, is a head injury. Like, it's one thing to be worried about him getting hurt all the time, but like in the Georgia game last year, everybody screaming, concussion, concussion, and it wasn't a concussion. And so, like, every injury I feel like he's had, everybody has always said it's a head injury for all of them, and that has not been the case. So just all I'm saying is just be careful that, yeah, you don't want him to get hurt, but don't also think that just every time that he gets hurt that it's automatically some head injury.
Look, Charlie Brewer, most of his injuries are because he is not – and look, big guys get hurt too, but I think a lot of them are just because he's never going to be a bit – like even if you put on a bunch of muscle, he's never going to be a guy who has a frame that can take it. That's why Dak Prescott doesn't get hurt as much, because that dude is just solid, and he's big. Charlie's never going to be that guy. So – yeah, he's probably going to get dinged up a little bit more.
Yeah, Scotty B, I'm just curious how much of a step back the defense have, how much of a step back they have. I already know the 2021 defense will be solid. Obviously, with Aranda and with Joey McGuire's a common denominator there. T-Rex, I'm concerned that the world isn't ready for the prophecy to be fulfilled. Behold, for I saw a green horse, and its rider was named Aranda, and brought forth death and famine across the Big 12, and ruled with a golden sword. Revelation 6:9.
Oh, T-Rex. What it must be like
I
to
really
live
don't
in
know.
his brain.
Someone, and T-Rex, I'm not wishing this on you, but when that moment comes and they cut into him.
Well, I think that, many, many years from now, that he definitely needs to donate his brain to science.
Who?
T-Rex.
Oh.
They need to know. They need to know. They got to know.
No, they don't need to know.
Aranda,
it might be the next part of his brain being cut into could lead to COVID too. The defense lost all but 2 starters from Jacob, and I believe the offense could improve dramatically under Fedora. Not having time to implement the system means they will likely will rely more heavily on that vacated D. Here's what I can tell you about the offense. Baylor played a certain specific and sometimes frustrating offense with Matt Rule and with what they did. It was, and he used this a lot, I mentioned this earlier in the last hour, it was complementary. This one that they're running with Larry Fedora, I think there's some players, even though they were 9-0 and nearly 10-0 and almost could have been 12-1, there are players that are licking their chops to see what they can do with this new offense, which is interesting, Craig, because Larry Fedora said to us he has not gone back to watch anything.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they haven't gone back to watch his offense.
That's exactly right. I think they've been pounding away at that.
I'm sure that they've gone and looked at draft picks and, all conference selections and things like that. No, I mean, the thing about the offense the last couple of years is, that they at times just couldn't do what they wanted to do. And, maybe at times they were almost stubborn. And a lot of times they were definitely playing, defense, literally and figuratively. And just trying to, grind that clock and keep the ball away and do all of those things. But they did, on occasion, flash some explosiveness, not nearly as much as we've become accustomed to in the years prior. But I think this is going to have more of a mix of kind of what we got used to and what people expected from Baylor football. Not the 1-minute drives over and over and over again, but certainly I think you could see more of that style of play, explosive, fast, 75-yard, like things like that, versus kind of what we've seen the last 3 years.
Well, Larry Fedora told us as much, when we had him on, and he also mentioned it that first day where he's kind of the way I describe it as kind of the yo-yo of it, like where there's going to be times where he's going to put just light the match and let's go. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be other times where he's going to, punish the defense a little bit because that's what needs to happen. And I think that's really where football's headed. I think a lot of it's going to be more matchups and things like that where you look, if you've got to go fast to win the game, you go fast to win the game. If you have to go slow to win the game, you go slow to win the game. And I think that's one of the things that happened with the Browns offense and a lot of those offenses, and why those, it's why Mike Leach, I think, hasn't really won on a big scale level, is he only wins games one way. And to win championships, you have to be able to win games in a bunch of different ways because all 12 days aren't going to be the same for you. They're
not.
Oklahoma. Yeah. All 12 days aren't going to be the same. One of them, at least one of them, is going to be different. And if you can't adapt to that one day, that's the difference between you and a championship.
I think there's excitement. I think the guys who pull the trigger, are the ones who are a part of it, the ones who have been through the last, and they're very respectful. What 1-11, 7-6, 10-3, and what could have been. I do think that might be a breath of fresh air with the way that Fedora is going to run his offense, how he's going to let them play. And I think that, again, unfortunately, they have not had spring drills and there's nothing else going on. That's frustrating. But I think if Matt Rule and his staff were intact and they had come back, this team this year, if you took who they are now, knowing that they haven't practiced, I understand that's a major part of it. But if Matt Rule and his staff had stayed intact and they were coming back with who they have returning, would the expectations be higher than they are now with the loss of practice time during the spring?
Oh, yeah.
Without question.
Yeah, I mean,
and that means using the old offense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that the new offense is going to give some of these guys something. It's kind of like, it's kind of like this is a new toy for them. A lot of them. And I think that's going to help because sometimes something new doesn't mean better, but sometimes something new means you can snap out of being,
Well, the offense could be better. I mean, the offense has room to be better, for sure. So I think that there's some excitement that they've got a high-flying guy known for being an offensive genius and somebody who Dave Aranda's obviously thought very highly of. And if they've gotten to know Dave Aranda, they probably have realized that he doesn't make decisions lightly and puts a lot of thought into things. And there's countless discussions they've had that we're unaware of entirely. So who knows what they've even been told or what Fedora said to them in meetings about what to expect. And so they've probably been given a lot of reasons to be excited. And certainly if you watch this team the last couple of years, if I'm an offensive player, hell yeah, I think that there could be some better days ahead as far as just maybe a little bit more fun on that side of the ball. I mean, they had fun last year. They won games. They were explosive at times. Denzel had a great year. But I just think there is a lot of room for growth. And, hopefully, Ebner's healthy and Lovett's healthy and the offensive line's the best it's been in a few years because it should be at this point in time. And Charlie's healthy. And if all those things are good to go, then I think with Fedora's touch, this could be pretty fun.
3 more responses, and then we go to a break and come back with Andy Staples ranks the top 300 places to eat in college football. Nick Morgan, setting aside the kids getting sick, it would be depth. From Girl Friday, 85, G Friday, 85. My primary concern is high injury rates due to lack of conditioning and on-practice time. I get that. As an athlete, even the best can't go from 0 to Mach 5 with their hair on fire.
But I will say, that's an all college football concern.
Yeah.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
So
even teams that have like 17 returning starters and the entire coaching staff intact.
Right.
From Dark Suit, all I know about football is what I learn on our Daily Bears podcast. Okay. And those crazy cats, whatever they say. I got it. Okay. That guy does a great job. Now, a couple of more texts from the 469. It's like getting dumped, but your new girlfriend is hotter. Oh, with the coaching change.
Yeah.
Okay.
432, when we come back, Andy Staples wrote an article on theathletic.com. The top 300 places to eat in the country covering college football. Waco had 3 restaurants listed, and West had 1, and Texas had a chunk. 4:32 when we come back. If you could say, if someone was coming into town to go watch Baylor play whoever, and they asked you where should they go eat on the night before the game or the day of a game or day after that night, it can depend on tailgating, which might be over for a year anyway. Where would you send them? 432, the number to call, 254-339-1122, and the text line as well. This is SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com. PettyClinicLowT.com with Dr. Kent Petty. They'll be closed on Friday this week. PettyClinicLowT.com, where you can find out what you need to be a higher performance man when it comes to many things, including energy. Maybe you feel lethargic. Maybe there's something going on as you get older with your testosterone level. And maybe just something as simple as a checkup by getting your blood work at a discounted rate thanks to Dr. Kent Petty. He can check your testosterone levels, which could also affect other things, including your sex drive, stamina, and I mentioned the energy. It could be a lot of things that make you feel that way. It could be depression. It could be something going on with your life. It could be your food, your diet. It could be you don't work out, all that. But there's also sometimes just things inside your body like your testosterone, and it's lower than it should be. He can put you in a program to make you and your testosterone levels better and help you become the high-performance man you want to be. They're in Woodway off 84 on the Old Hewitt Road exit. It's PettyClinicLowT.com.
Our communities are facing unprecedented times. At Boozer's Jewelers, we care about you and your family. If you're like me, your home has unwanted or unused jewelry lying around. They can have value, and that means we can turn that jewelry into instant cash. This is a great way to get the most value from your unwanted jewelry. At Boozer's Jewelers, we buy all kinds of unused jewelry. So give us a call and let us give you peace of mind and cash for your unwanted or unused jewelry.
Do you love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help you and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace, and order 30-pound bags of live crawfish by noon on Thursday and pick up on Friday to enjoy the weekend. Live crawfish available right now, and Waco Custom Marketplace doors are open for business Monday through Friday from 9 to 6, Saturday 10 to 5. And crawfish boil boxes available as well. Make your order for live crawfish by noon on Thursday, pick up on Friday for the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh kolaches, cinnamon rolls, and baked bread daily. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. fresh seafood, summer sausage boudin, and house-cured and smoked bacon. Spices, seasonings, soup mixes, charcoal, and lighter fluid. Waco Custom Marketplace. Doors open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday, 10 to 5, 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio poll is brought to you by Pickup Outfitters, where everything purchased and installed comes with our famous lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance. 220 Lake Air Drive or CreateACommotion.com.
Leon said game day, Torchy's Tacos, which is right there, not that far. It's right there near downtown. Carl Campbell, man. I'm totally done with pro sports, college sports. The weekend, Mayor Adler from Austin came out and stated that Austin can no longer test non-symptomatic people. Why he states that tests aren't available to test everyone is because professional leagues and Division I athletes are being tested over and over and over again and promised it wouldn't take away from people with all their testing. Well, today I was told I will not be able to get tested near where I live, and I will not be able to attend my baby's birth. These millions of tests that are being used on the elite are affecting everyday Americans. I cannot stay silent anymore. I'm so hurt by this, and it's because billionaire businesses are getting special treatment. I will still listen to this show, but I cannot support what is happening with testing priorities. Well, Carl, we love you, and Carl, we appreciate your feedback.
Well,
I hate that.
I wondered when this was going to happen. I mean, because, you know, if you're an NBA player, you can look at PGA golfers are getting tested every day.
Kyle Jones cannot come on the show today because he has to travel, coming off the win in Utah, which was a big moment, but also because of testing.
Yeah, there's a testing site right next to where I live, and I've noticed it over the last week in particular go from a little tent set up outside where maybe a car was like a couple of weeks ago to now like a full-blown line exiting out of the parking lot of, 5 to 10 cars every time I drive by there. It won't be that way when I get home because it'll be shut down by that point. But, yeah, I've definitely noticed that. I also read an article on the situation in Austin. I did not see the mayor comment on the pro sports, college sports testing side of things. But I did see where, the city of Austin said, yeah, unless you're symptomatic, then they're not going to test you. And part of that reason, which I guess is related to pro sports and college sports, but part of that reason is because they've been so overwhelmed with people coming to get tested, whether they have symptoms or not. So,
Leon said we all knew special preferences was coming.
Yeah, I mean I wondered.
Does.
Yeah, I wondered when it was going to happen and when it was going to pop up. And
some of those who are being tested or are getting special preferential treatment are the ones also sometimes outspoken about the fact that people don't.
Yeah.
Now, Andy Staples from the go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say I saw a little report from one of the local news stations. Waco McLennan County announced what they believe is helping this surge here, and it's social activity. I mean, that's exactly what it is, and it's that. And what's frightening to me, guys, is July 4th coming up. You think everybody's just going to stay separated this time around? No, they're not, because too many people still don't believe it's even a thing. And certainly you can't expect everybody to stay away from family. But, yeah, the leading cause is social activity and being around people who you don't, that don't realize they have it. And it just it's spreading.
4 restaurants, so to speak, businesses in the Central Texas area were listed by Andy Staples. And now we don't have much time to discuss this because I got into that other stuff. That's my fault. About the top 300 places to go eat in college football coverage. One of them is Hellberg Ranch in Woodway, right?
It's a little further. Yeah, it's a little further down, but it's good. It's real good.
Guest Barbecue on Franklin.
Love it.
Is that where? What was the name of that company that for the longest time?
It was Migna's for a long time. Yeah, but
and then Magnolia Table. I've eaten there one time. I know that's because of tourists and all that. I've eaten there one time with a friend of mine, Jerry Gumbert. I had breakfast there, and it was good.
That definitely probably gets amped up a little because of the Magnolia
Yeah, no
ties.
question.
Yeah.
And the Czech Stop in West.
Yeah, I like Check Stop. There's a couple other now. If you're a Kalachi fan, if you go right around the corner, there's a couple other places that are also fantastic as well. So.
Yes, that aren't the tourist attraction.
In West?
Just right. Like, seriously, just drive past the Check Stop, and I'm not knocking Check Stop, but if you've got a bunch of people lined up around the corner of the Check Stop, just drive right around the corner and go to the Pizza House right there in West and the Nemechek's Bakery right there. Boom. Fantastic.
On Guest Barbecue, you're ordering brisket, spare ribs, garlic sausage. Don't forget the collard greens with pork belly, green chili mac, and cheese on the side. For years, Waco suffered through a lack of decent barbecue options. Guest Family Barbecue changed all that. Hellberg Barbecue off of Highway 6 in Woodway. I guess it's technically Woodway. Guest Family Barbecue started the barbecue revolution in Metro Waco. Hellberg continued it. Aside from the excellent brisket, Hellberg mixes it up with pesto, stuffed turkey, and thick, hearty smoked pork chops. Is there also now a new Guest Barbecue on Highway 6 towards Crawford? Or is that the one he's talking about?
Yeah, it's Hellberg. That's where it is. It's down.
I've not eaten, and I know this sounds blasphemous. I don't eat out a lot anyway. Mm-hmm. And over the weekend, I made my own ribs. But, and I know that when I got here, there were seemed like 5 places people took, and it was always the same 5. But there has been an influx, no question, and even more places. For example, Cajun food. I've been to the Craft. Is it the Craft Cajun one time? But the one on 77 Fridays is still a fantastic go-to place. I don't know the hours anymore, and I used to go there about once a month and load up on their shrimp etouffee and a few other things they had. It's very, very good when it comes to that. All right, and he lists, this is all of the Texas restaurants, and it's like 6 or 7 pages, as you can imagine, from San Antonio to Dallas to Houston and College Station to Lockhart, I think it is, Texas, and a few other places as well. Anything else, guys? And from Girl Friday, sorry I couldn't come up with a response that has more depth. My response really does not apply to all of college football. It's going to be an interesting season. I do think we will see new and interesting things from Baylor on both sides of the football, and I think she's right, no question. Coming up next, Donnie Osborne, head coach at Teague, and then Philip Blake will join us today at 5. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Drive forward at Allen Samuels. Get big summer values on new Jeeps, the vehicles of summer. Get 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days on select Jeeps, plus new Jeep Gladiators featuring employee pricing for all. New Ram Lone Star Crew Cab 4x4s feature up to $10,250 in values. Shop safely in person or shop and buy online at AllenSamuelsDCJ.com. Your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
Ask for details.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember. How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Corley. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna. And now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere. And yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Log on to the Willis Law Firm chat room on SicEm365.com.
Brian Etheridge, who we've referred to quite a bit today, he was mentioning the West and some of the other places, like you said, Paul, just around the corner, Garrix, Nemechek, Slovacek.
Love
Sefco at the top of the hill even before you get to the check stop.
Yeah.
All right, we're now joined by Donnie Osborne, head football coach at Teague. He joins us on SicEm365 Radio. So it seems like, Donnie, and I don't know where you guys are, but that most everybody is shutting down their workouts and trying to push this thing back a couple of weeks. Where are you with that?
Yeah, well, we got lucky. We set our summer schedule back in June when we put the calendar out for the kids, and we had built in a 2-week break starting today and coming back to work on July the 13th. So we had it built in, but it turned out to be perfect because half the people are shutting down, and which is not a bad idea right now. So it worked out good for us.
Coach, how were the workouts going beforehand? I mean, obviously you didn't see the kids for a while. Did they come back in decently good shape?
You know, when we left spring break was a week behind everybody else's. And so as we were on spring break, everybody's shutting down their first week back at school. And man, from January to spring break, I couldn't have been happier with my guys and the amount of progress we made. You know, we felt like we made a progress, and we knew we're gonna have to make progress to be able to win some games in the fall. And man, I was so proud of our guys. And then all of a sudden we get slammed, you know. And for close to 12 weeks there, didn't get to see my guys. And I'll be honest, we gave out workouts to everybody, but you know, we didn't do Zoom workouts. I know some schools did that, some coaches did that. I guess they're more motivated than me. But I didn't do any of that. You know, I just kept encouraging my guys to get out and do something. So we came back to work in June, and I was pleasantly surprised at how we were able to get right back in the groove just quickly. And I was afraid my kids were just going to fall out on me, you know, them first few days. They responded, and we had an awesome June. And here we are, you know, we're almost back to where we were. I hope not, but golly, like I told kids before we left last week, I said, guys, we got to prepare like it's going to be normal and expect it to be something different. So that's where we are right now.
Coach, I ask just about every coach that we have on, especially at the high school level, this question. But, you know, these are 16, 17, 18-year-old kids who are, you know, in the midst of just upheaval. It's hard for the adults to deal with, much less the kids. How do you feel like your young men have handled just such a strange 2020 that we've experienced?
Yeah, you know, I tell people this all the time. You know, teenagers are so resilient. You know, I think it bothers the adults way more than it bothers the kids. I know kids get a little disappointed, but man, they turn the page and they seem to go on. You know, and they don't dwell on stuff. And our attendance in the month of June for summer workouts has been better than it's ever been, and we have fewer kids than we've ever had. And so, man, I'm just been so proud of my guys because they showed up and man, they've been working their tails off every day like we're back to normal. the whole time, every one of us coaches are looking at each other out of the side of our eyes going, holy crap, what's going to happen next, you know? So, anyway.
You won 43 games in your first 3 years coming from administration to take over the football program.
Yeah.
40.
That shows you what,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, you know what's coming next. I mean, we really, your program has been very good, and you have a great schedule. And a lot of it depends sometimes on other teams to get better as well. But you won 43 games your first 4 years. The last couple of years have been a street fight for you. What's changed?
Well, first of all, then my first the first 4 years, you know, but my fourth year we went to the quarterfinals. You know, we went. What did we go 11-3 that year?
Yep.
So them first 4 years we were solid, but man, we had it. Just goes to show you that good players make good coaches. You know what I'm saying? Man, we had some cats, and of course, you know, if we wouldn't have been winning a lot of games, it would have been bad on our part. But and we've had good kids the last 2 years, just good, solid, average kids. No, not very many GoDaddies, and every week is a dogfight. And the thing that's the killer is, you guys know this story. You've heard it 100 times. Is you go to the quarterfinals twice out of 4 years, and next time when realignment comes up, not one single person will answer your phone call when you go to call them to make a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened to us. And holy crap, we had to play a lot of people that were just better than us. It's a little bit better this year, but still, it's tough to get people to jump up there and play. But it wasn't quite as tough. But our schedule's been tough.
Well, and then you have Fairfield dropping 4A to 3A right in your backyard. Of course, the location and the rivalry. So you have that as well. You're in a 6-team district. Would you rather be? Would most people rather be in like an 8-team district because it gives you kind of a 4 out of 6 you're going to get in. You got to win a couple of games. But would you rather be in a larger district and kind of give you a chance to have a bad night or two?
This year, David, I'm glad we're in a 16. You know, I'm glad we're in a 16 because, you know, I think a couple of the teams out of those 6 are not very good. You know, and I'm thinking, you know, unless we just lay an egg sometime and some point don't show up, we're going to be a playoff team, I believe.
Okay.
And for honestly, I'm kind of glad we're in a 16 this go around. I really am. You know, we've been battled out with a solid, tough district. You know, been in a 17 the last couple of years. I'm kind of looking forward to being in a 16 district this go around.
Well, and so why not just start by playing Mart to start the year?
Oh, absolutely. How smart is that?
Yeah. Who is your AD?
Oh God, dang! I tell you what, and you know what? Let me top that off. And then let's travel to Lago Vista a couple weeks later.
Uh-huh.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? Actually, Lago Vista is coming to our place this year. But man, I tell you what, you know, I couldn't find there was a couple spots that I could not get filled. I just couldn't get anybody to answer the phone or say yes, other than La Vega. Of course, La Vega wanted to play.
Did you answer that? Did you even answer Don Hyde's phone call? Did you accidentally?
Yeah, let me jump over and grab a bite of that. So, anyway, I might have said some ugly things to them when they called me. It probably wasn't something we could put on the radio.
Yeah.
But in all due respect, I was like, I only know that, you know, HE double hockey sticks, no. I ain't doing it.
But have you found over the years the team, especially the teams that are good, the ones that you know have the chance to make a run, do get a lot better when they play the better teams, as opposed to, you know, and sometimes it's just, you know, who does pick up the phone, like you said, where you do play some teams that, you know, they can run over, and then they play somebody that's tough and they're not ready for it.
Man, I'm telling you, it's when you know you got a good football team and you're going to be a playoff team and have a chance to win, you know, go 2 or 3 rounds, 4 rounds maybe. I'm 100%. Hey, let's play great people those first 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, you know, 3 weeks, whatever it is. And if we get beat, we get beat. But by gosh, we're going to get better. And when you're a very average football team, you kind of you don't want to get the crap beat out of you them first 3 weeks and destroy every bit of confidence you have. And I got to hand it to our kids the last couple of years because our pre-district has been tough, and we've taken it on the chin in pre-district. But our kids, man, when district rolled around, they showed up. They showed up and played and did really well.
What's interesting is that sometimes people look at a district and, Grandview's now won, back-to-back state titles. But when you have someone like Whitney with what Mark Bird's done, and they jump up last year, and they're damn good. I mean, that can flip a district on its head.
Absolutely.
It really can. So,
you just, Whitney was always one of the middle of the pack schools, and all of a sudden, but we knew going into the season last year, 1 and 2. Grandview and Whitney, and that was my opinion. I felt like they were going to be that good, and sure enough, they were.
Yeah. Well, you're the one that aren't you the one that told me that Devin Wilson you said was the best football player in Central Texas? I think that might have been.
I thought he was.
Yeah.
And I will take that to my grave.
Yeah.
That kid. I think he was that talented. I think his knock, if anything, was his knock. There were times, he could take over a game at any time that he wanted to, I felt like. But then there were times he didn't, and I don't know. I can't. I never coached the kid. I don't know him, but I thought he was unbelievably super talented. I just did.
Man, it's always fun talking to you. You talk about some truth serum. That's why we're going to start doing a weekly segment with you. The heck with all this other stuff.
Yeah. I try not to do a bunch of that old coach speak that nobody wants to hear.
No, this is fantastic. Now, you said you were already in a 2-week bubble, and I know you got to go, and we got a top of the hour as well. This is the 2-week bubble you had kind of planned. Are you going to do anything? Because some coaches have told me they've floated the river, and some have been to New Mexico or Colorado. Do you have a chance to get away?
Yeah, I am. I'm fixing to, crazy it is. I'm fixing to jump on an airplane Thursday and be gone for about 8 or 9 days. So
be careful.
And I told them, and I know it. I'm telling you, I know. Golly, you talk about rolling the dice. But anyway, my suit said, "Well, good for you." He said, he goes, "Don't even answer your phone." He goes, "I'm not going to bother you while you're gone." So
that's good. That's good. All right, buddy. Thanks, Donnie. Appreciate it as always. God, I like talking to him. Donnie Osborne, head coach at Teague. One of the things that because of our relationship with the high school coaches, West will be someone we feature this week with David Woodard. But it's that I think they feel comfortable enough just to let it go, and thanks to Donnie Osborne at Teague for his truth serum and being unfiltered. This is SicEm365 Radio. You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing his time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Empty backfield for Griffin. He has time, launches it to the end zone. Touchdown! Terrence Williams!
This segment on Baylor Athletics on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
When I thought and when I think and I look back at the Baylor offensive line, back when I first arrived here, my first football season covering Baylor was the year they broke the long drought in the bowl game. They remember they beat Kansas State. Everyone stormed the field. It was a big deal. And there were some great memories against Kansas State at Floyd Casey Stadium, but they went 7-6. And then as I saw what Randy Clements, who's now at Ole Miss and will be playing if things aren't shut down, Baylor, he and Jeff Levy on the Ole Miss staff in September, is how they could take anybody, it seemed like, and turn them into a center or a tackle, or it was unbelievable. And Philip Blake was one of those. I saw Philip Blake. Of course, Craig and I and Tyler forever. He played at Tyler Junior College, moved to Baylor. He became one heck of an offensive lineman and a center as well. He now joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Philip, am I right that Randy Clements allowed you to become like whatever you needed to be, whatever position along the offensive line, and not just you but others?
Well, I believe so. I mean, he gave us all the tools to be successful. So, I mean, he gave us confidence to go out there and, play any position, I could play. So I'm grateful for that.
What was the key to the way that the offensive line worked that everybody was able to move around to a spot so comfortably?
I mean, I think it was just like repetition in practice. There were so many reps, like it doesn't matter if you made a mistake and you just go ahead and do it again. Just the amount of reps you did, you just had to get it right at some point.
Philip, we've had countless number of players on over the last couple of months, and repetition in practice is something they've always brought up, but I've never really explored it much. Can you kind of explain just how much repetition there was and what an average practice was like?
I mean, just if there was a mistake being made, just go to the next play and keep going at it. I mean, I remember after practice when I first moved to center, I would have to do like 100 snaps, 200 snaps just to get it right. because that's one thing I needed to work on when I first made the move to center. But I mean, it was always transition, move the ball, and don't get tired.
Yeah, how much of a transition, as far as first of all, you see the world through a different lens because you're a center. But you have to look up and snap it. Is that something that's sometimes taken for granted? Just the snap now in the way that the spread is run.
I mean, no, not for me. I mean, it was just something added that I had to do. I mean, I just had the ball in my hand, I had to snap it. It felt like I was in the 3-point stands anyway. So, I mean, the only thing I had to do was just get it right at Robert's hands.
Philip Blake, Tyler Junior College, Baylor. I keep saying the Argonauts, but are you now with the Argonauts or are you with Saskatchewan?
Oh, last year I played with Saskatchewan, and this year I just signed with Toronto Argonauts, my hometown team. So
okay,
kind of coming full circle.
So you're back with Toronto.
Yeah, I just signed a 2-year deal in February.
Okay.
Yeah. So being in the CFL, that style of ball is, I mean, obviously you got different rules and the 3 downs and all that stuff, but does the Bryles offense, does that translate a little bit more in the CFL, the way that you guys play?
I mean, it is more fast-paced because 3 downs, but, I mean, and the turnover, just because there's 3 downs, you don't have much time on the break. So I guess being in the Art Bryles offense kind of conditioned me to be able to play in the CFL. But I mean, it's basically the same.
So, Philip, your first year at Baylor, you guys went 4-8. Your second year, 7-6, got into the bowl game, and I remember that was a big deal for everybody. And then, obviously, 2011 was a gigantic year. When did you know that you guys were going to be that level of good?
I mean, I guess it was when we lost that bowl game, and we had like a new mission to go into the next year, and trying to build on what we did the previous year.
Danny Watkins was on the offensive line. Cameron Caulfield, who we had on the show, it's been about a month or so ago, was on the offensive line. I think Troy Baker. There was some dudes now, right? Was Cyril there yet?
Oh yeah, Cyril was my roommate actually.
Okay.
My last 2 years at Baylor. So and Cameron Caulfield, Danny Watkins, all great players playing beside them. So it was fun.
So you were born in Toronto. You mentioned you come full circle, and then Danny kind of came out of Canada as well. Eventually was, I think, at Utah, went to junior college in Utah. What does it say about Baylor being able to find offensive linemen, and no matter wherever they had to find them?
I mean, I'd followed Art Bryles from when he was at U of H. I mean, I think I was maybe one of his first or 2 recruits to go to Baylor, to commit to Baylor that year. Coming from Toronto, I mean, my recruiting process was find every school from A to Z, find out the recruiting coordinator, the emails, and send my highlight tape all the way through. So, Randy Clements, it was the first people that gave me a call, bring me on a visit, and I told them, I'm going to follow you guys.
So when you got that little red number on an email, when you're going through all that, what was the excitement like when you actually got a return email?
I mean, I was excited. I mean, they said they want to bring me on a visit. I'm from Canada. Football is not the biggest sport. So I was like, I'm coming.
What were your first impressions arriving in Texas and Waco and seeing, Baylor's campus and all that?
I mean, just as I imagined it, growing up, you hear about football, and Texas football was the biggest thing I heard of. And just to be able to play football in Texas and, just to have that experience was, amazing.
Greg mentioned the first year you were there, things struggled in that 7-6, and then, of course, the Heisman year and the team that went 10-3 and won the Alamo Bowl and all the things that went with it.
And how could Philip know at the time, coming from Canada to Texas, that he's going to, play for Baylor and all that, but that he's going to be a part of a Heisman campaign by the time it all wraps up? That's pretty cool.
I know. It was perfect. I don't know, perfect timing, I guess. I mean, it was just, something that meant to happen, I guess, for me, and I'm forever grateful for that.
When did you know that and that kind of was asked earlier, but was there a certain moment, and it could have even been in a practice or maybe after a loss or whatever, that this was something pretty special that was building there?
I think the run that we went on, I think after we lost to A&M, I think we went like 6 or 7 straight, 5 straight before we went to the bowl game. We had something, be a part of history. We went to a bowl game the first time, I think it was like 20 years, but to actually be a part of history and actually win one in such a long time was kind of a motivation in itself. So I think being a part of that was special.
What was it like then to be a part of someone who helped build what was the foundation of what became Big 12 championships? Even though you weren't there when they won those titles, you were a part of it along with many others that helped kind of lay the foundation.
I mean, it was special. Coach Haas, our strength and conditioning coach, told us, we are going to be the ones that build the foundation. We probably won't even see all the good things, all the new equipment, new stadiums that we'll be able to enjoy. But, we can always say that we helped build it. So, I mean, that was very special. And to see what Baylor has become is, I feel like I had a part in it.
Do you have a favorite game? I know the Oklahoma game's got to be up there, but do you have one outside of that one?
I think my favorite moment was probably the bowl game. I think we were backed up. Terrence Ganaway came to the huddle, and he's like, hey, you guys block for me? I'm going to score this touchdown. And sure enough, we blocked it up. He ran down the middle, and I think he ran for like 90-something yards and scored that touchdown. I think that was a very exciting moment for me.
Was that against Washington?
Oh, yes, that was against Washington.
Yeah.
Philip, who was the toughest encounter that you remember going up against during your time at Baylor?
I think it was Dominican Sue when we played he was in Nebraska. I mean, he was just moving guys left and right. We're trying to double him. He was breaking free. I think Nick Florence, the quarterback, or I can't remember who the quarterback was, but he came in there and threw him to the ground. I ran up in there and tried to hit him. I basically bounced off of him, and I was like, okay.
He should have won the Heisman. And Dominican Sue should have won the Heisman that year.
Yeah, he was real special.
He's still playing, right? Is he still?
Yeah.
He's still.
The Bucks, right? Yeah.
Did he ever? You hear about how he's kind of nasty. I think when you're like that, you can be, but it's not like offense and defensive linemen don't go at each other. Did he do anything ever to you that you felt like was kind of a little bit disrespectful, other than if you tossed you around?
No, he was real quiet when I played against him. I mean, I guess he knew what he was going to come in there and do, and we tried to stop him.
Was that the game? Jared Crick was there too, right? Jared Crick had a pretty good game that day too, didn't he?
I believe so. I'm 100% sure.
Yeah.
I just remember going against Dominican Sue, and I was like, well, it's going to be a good one.
Well, you're in the inside of the offensive line. You can't worry about that other guy. You just got to worry about
I think that year I was playing tackle.
Yeah.
I was playing right tackle my first year at Baylor. So just helping and double teaming with him was a struggle.
What is it, Philip Blake with us, former Baylor offensive lineman, also all Southwest. I'll keep saying that today. All Big 12 offensive lineman. Denver, Arizona, and now in the CFL every year since 2015. You're still playing. You're still a professional football player. How long did you think you might play when you left college? And have you enjoyed? You've had some ups and downs, but are you enjoying everything?
I mean, I enjoyed every experience I've had. Obviously, I had ups and downs, when I first started, but it was a learning experience. I mean, not as what I wanted to happen, but just got to take what opportunities I get. In terms of how long I expect to play, I mean, my goal was 10 years. I mean, if I play this year, next year I'll be 10. So we'll see how long it goes.
There's a note in the Argonauts bio of you that a former, I guess, high school teammate of yours is the director of Canadian scouting for the Argos. Vince, is it Magri?
Yeah, that's correct.
Is that kind of the connection that allowed you to have a connection with Toronto?
I mean, at first, no, because I knew the guys. Most of the guys that are in Toronto right now came from the previous team I was on. So they knew, they liked what I'd done, and they liked the experience that I brought, to help the offensive line that they have right now.
How do you say?
But knowing that Vince was there, was kind of funny how it happened.
How do you say your high school?
It was Father Henry Carr.
Oh, okay. All right, because I thought I thought there was a former Etobicoke Eagles, or what is that?
Oh, that's a summer league. So it's just it's part of the OVFL.
Okay.
So there's not much high school football in Canada. So during the summer, they have this organization where, guys can come out and play football.
Do you miss hockey being played yet, or are you all entrenched in that, or is that something that's ever on your radar?
I mean, growing up, I played hockey, not really ice hockey, street hockey, rollerblade hockey. I did a couple times. But as soon as I got to Texas, it was not much hockey broadcasting on TV.
Mm-hmm.
It was mostly football, baseball, and basketball.
Craig, you've asked this question about former players and how much they've stayed engaged with what Baylor. Go ahead. You had another question anyway.
Yeah, I'll just ask you that, Philip. Just how much have you kept up with Baylor football, and what did you think, if you have kept up with them, of that run they went on last year?
I mean, I've kept up with them as much as I could, during the season time I play. And, I'm in Canada. You don't have much broadcasting of American college football. But, I mean, whenever I can go online and watch them, I'm going to watch them. I'm going to support them, through ups and downs. So, I mean, that's my school. That's where I went, and school gave me my opportunity.
Philip, thank you very much. Good luck. Stay safe, and good luck this upcoming season in Toronto.
All right. Thank you so much.
Great to have you on. It's Philip Blake, Toronto Argonauts offensive lineman, born in Toronto, Ontario. He was really good. Man, think about that offensive line. I don't have them all matched together, but Kopfold, Cyril, Danny Watkins, Philip Blake, Troy Baker was coming through the pipeline. Golly, just tons.
I think J.D. Walton was his first
year. J.D. Walton was there, probably his first year, who played in Denver, and Philip was drafted by the Broncos. He was a fourth-round pick. Do you know that he was traded
for Tim Tebow?
For Tim Tebow.
Yes. Got the better end of that deal.
God.
Yeah, I got to get a shot in. But yeah, rather have.
God, you are terrible.
I'd rather have an offensive lineman who can block and keep my quarterback upright rather than a quarterback who can't throw. But that's just me.
When we come back, some of SicEm365.com in the premium section responding to the question about Baylor football, if in fact the season's played, some of their concerns, a lot of different ways that people are going with that. Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, Deontay Epps here today. I'm David Smoke. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco. They've got Balcones whiskey in stock right now, whether you need single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak. They've got it. It's there. I've done the drive-thru. It's really great. You just go up, you tell them what you want. Bada bing, bada boom. You got it. It's in your car, and you're on the way home to enjoy it. It's fantastic. It's a hidden gem in Waco. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Corley. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
These make a great pair. Each are phenomenal bargains from Allen Samuels. The new 2020 Jeep Cherokee and new 2019 Dodge Journey. Save thousands now as we drive forward into summer. Journey, the great American crossover with third row seating, just $16,995 for select qualified buyers. And the Go Anywhere Jeep Cherokee, just $29.90 and eligible for first responder $500 bonus cash. Journey, Jeep Cherokee, summer bargains from Allen Samuels.
Ask for details.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
I mentioned that story on theathletic.com by Andy Staples. Tomorrow at 3:30, he will join us on the top 300 eateries, places to stop in college football. And apparently Larry Fedora is a barbecue expert. And he'll share some of that. Larry Fedora comparing North Carolina barbecue to Texas barbecue.
It's very different. It's very different. Of course, North Carolina is more hog, and Texas is more cow.
Is North Carolina in that area more pulled pork type stuff too? Yeah.
You can go, there's a place you can go in North Carolina. My dad and I went to a place one time, and I remember seeing a place like this on television much later, but you go in and you look at the smoker, and on the smoker is just a pig, a gigantic pig sliced in half.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Who's the Tate Williams? Is it Tate McWilliams, Craig, the big offensive lineman out west that committed to Baylor?
Well, there's a running back named Tay McWilliams.
No, this is the big.
He's
a 2021 kid. I saw him a picture. He showed a picture of a cattle, and then a picture of a skinned carcass with the meat and everything as they're letting it, All right, this is from SicEm365.com on the website. I worry about the defensive line will get blown off the ball. That's from Sostini.
I don't really worry about that with Gabe Hall and TJ Franklin and Chidio Bonaya and some others that they've had kind of grooming in the background, like a Harrison White. I think, experience, they're going to lose a lot of it, obviously, and I don't think anybody would expect them to be as good as they were last year. I mean, it was a Big 12 championship-type defensive line, but anchoring a Big 12 championship-type defense. But I don't worry about them getting blown off the ball. I mean, I would maybe be worried if it was a bunch of true freshmen who hadn't undergone a full, calendar of strength and conditioning. But, I mean, all the guys they have back from last year should be pretty good and ready to go, and they – have their opportunity now. So I'm actually pretty okay with the defensive line as far as concerns go, but I do expect a drop-off, certainly.
From Common Ground, Safety play, obviously. Offensive line play, my biggest concerns. Can Casey Phillips hold up at right tackle? J.T. Woods, Christian Morgan have flashed a lot of ability, but when will they become more consistent?
I think now. I mean, I think part of it just, being the guys back there. I think J.T. Woods is one of the more cerebral football players you'll ever come across, and that's going to be good for a defense that's in a little bit of transition, a new system back there calling out coverages. I think that's going to be fine. I think you're also going to have a potential shutdown corner in Kalen Barnes. I think he's got the potential to be really, really, really special.
Yeah. With Kalen Barnes, I mean, Tejada's a better corner right now, and Kalen Barnes has all of the tools, but he wasn't even a regular starter last year.
Yeah.
And he's got all this potential. So, yeah, I hope he grows into that as well. He's got a couple of years left now at this point, and I don't think we've quite seen the highest level that he can play because he's had competition around him. But certainly if you're looking at a group that should really play well this year, you would think it would be Kalen Barnes and J.T. Woods and Christian Morgan, all the secondary, because of what Dave Aranda did during his time at LSU. I mean, they were known for great D linemen and linebackers, but I feel like they were far more well known for their corners and their safeties than anything else. And so I think when you have a starting point of a Kalen Barnes, of a Raleigh Tejada, of a Christian Morgan, of a J.T. Woods, not to mention all the others, then that should be a group that definitely people have their eye on, and I would expect big things from. My only concern at safety really is just the lack of depth. They just don't have a lot of safeties, and they never, ever really did during the entire Matt Rule tenure. It was always like somebody got booted off, or they just didn't recruit it maybe the way that I don't know. I know you don't go and recruit 4 safeties in a calendar year typically, but it just never felt like they had more than a couple of guys back there, if that makes sense.
They're gonna lose some dog. They lost some dog.
They lost Chris Miller, yeah. Although he was gone for half the year.
Braylon Arnold, ball hawk.
Yeah.
Jamison Houston, man, and then, but again, that's part of everyone loses somebody. Yeah,
that's college football. You know who also lost everybody? LSU.
Yeah.
Offensive line, not optimistic about Bettier, Phillips, and Valentine. I always get that wrong.
It's Valentine.
I think Phillips needs another year. Bettier absolutely needed a red shirt, and Valentine hasn't impressed at all. I'm worried about higher injury rates due to lack of conditioning. That's Texas Turtle Girl. I feel like we have talent on the defensive side, just lack of experience. I acknowledge that no spring practice set us back. I trust Fedora's going to have us clicking more consistently than recent years. I wish we had signed the offensive tackle out of Houston. That would make me feel better about the offensive line. And then there's that Phillips-Bettier-Valentine combination again. Let's see. I wish we could land Savion Byrd and Steel Feathery away before signing day. Craig, you know who those guys are?
Yeah, 2 really highly rated offensive linemen. So I think a lot of people would love to go grab those guys and add more. I mean, the only problem is they don't help you right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, you'd love to have more top prospects. I get that. But, it doesn't have much bearing on this year. And, at some point, and this is not directed at any way, it's just something that sprung to mind. But at some point, you just got to work with what you have. You know what I mean? There were all the excuses, and they were legitimate. They weren't even really excuses in the world when Matt Rule first took over. I mean, one of the hallmarks of his early tenure was 6 scholarship offensive linemen, and in about 2 years, they got that up to 20 plus, around 20, and it's there. So the numbers are there. Then it was a youth thing and a lack of experience thing. At some point, you got who you got, and those guys got to be ready to play. And Joe Wickline's been around a long time. I don't think it'll take him long once they get their hands in the dirt to see some things that he wants to change up or some areas of where maybe he can improve some of these guys. But, a couple years ago, Casey Phillips and those types of players, we were saying, well, give them a couple years and, they'll be the anchors to this very strong offensive line eventually. Well, it's been a couple years, and now it's time for those guys to become the anchors of a strong line. I mean, it's been long enough. They need to be more of a force up front, in my opinion.
SicEm, Kentucky, a team that doesn't play with instinct because it's still working through concepts, language, understanding, and system. That's what the defense was able to do last year. They played fearless and didn't have to think much.
Yeah.
You could tell. The offense, a little bit of a different story. We'll see what happens. Coming up next.
I don't know that it will take them as long to learn, though. I don't think this is going to be super complex like Phil Snow, where it took them legitimately 2 years to learn how to do what they're supposed to do. I don't sense that that's going to be the same issue here. So,
coming up next, Baylor, of course, will release at some point the newest stats on COVID. They had 8 active cases. Is that right? 8 positive tests a week ago. Where are they now? At some point, that will be released soon. And then also coming up at 5:30, we'll discuss Cam Newton of the Patriots with a guest who works in the Boston market, Paul.
Yeah, Michael Hurley.
Michael Hurley.
He works in Boston, Massachusetts, not at the Boston market.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. I bought my new car there. It's fantastic. Appreciate AJ, the staff that's there. And right now they have that 0% financing for 72 months, no payments for 90 days on several new vehicles. Remaining 2019 Rams are 0% for 72 months. 2020 Ram 4x4 Lone Stars feature $10,250 in values. Additional incentives. $500 consumer cash in the new 2019 Dodge Journey, $1,000 on the 2020s. $750 consumer cash in the new 2019 Caravans, $1,000 on the new 2020s. An additional $1,000 consumer cash in the new 2019 Ram chassis cabs. I'm telling you right now, Ram trucks, you know what the story is about them. They deliver. They've been awarded. They've been honored. It is amazing. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Well, I have to tell you that we're pretty proud here at Pickup Outfitters. The mayor of the city of Waco chose to deputize Pickup Outfitters into the Waco Mask Police Force. Now, we weren't necessarily looking to be deputized. We've been pretty busy fighting truck nudity, but hey, we're law-abiding citizens. The threat of a $1,000 fine if we didn't join the Mask Police Force also had something to do with it. So please, bring your mask with you to Pickup Outfitters. And if you don't have one, we'll provide one previously unused. And we have a couple of other requests. First, wear a mask that covers your mouth and nose but not your eyes, especially when driving to Pickup Outfitters. Second, we do have hand sanitizer, which you are welcome to use on your hands. Do not try to drink our hand sanitizer. Even if you add orange juice, it's still not a mimosa. And third, we have everything you need to outfit your naked truck. Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion. And I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is SicEm365 Radio. SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
By the way, before we get to Michael Hurley from WBZ in Boston, CBS affiliate, about Cam Newton, what does this mean for Jarrett Stidham, and even the NFL slapping the Patriots in the back of the head with a draft pick and a fine. Baylor will release their latest COVID numbers sometime, I would say, in the next maybe 30 minutes or so. And one of the things they're going to start doing is becoming even more detailed with information, as they try to be as transparent as they can be. The number, I think, in the end is going to be very much on par to the first 2 weeks they released information. They are what appears to be ahead of the curve when it comes to the numbers of players, student athletes who have been tested, who have tested positive, and even some that have been cleared who at one point tested positive. I hope that makes sense. That's coming out here in the next 30 minutes. Michael Hurley, WBZ TV in Boston, Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, David Smoke, and Deontay Epps. Michael, thank you. What was your reaction when you first heard the news about Cam?
I would say surprised, even though it's one of those things with the Patriots. You can never be surprised, but just given that where they are in the offseason, it just seemed like, all right, well, it's going to be Stidham, maybe Hoyer for a little bit, then it'll be Stidham, and it'll be kind of a boring offense. They'll simplify things and run the ball, and all of a sudden it's Cam Newton. And granted, you don't know which Cam Newton you're getting, but I think in terms of sheer entertainment value, they went from about a 5 to 100. So from that standpoint, it was pretty exciting.
With Cam Newton coming, was this something maybe they'd always planned to do, or just waiting out the money on him?
I can't say that it was their plan all along, because at any point from mid-March to late June, someone could have offered him a reasonable contract and he would have been gone. I think the Patriots probably reached out at some point in the process, I don't know when, and said, you know, this is what we have. We have no cap room, so the offer is going to be low. It's not what you want, but if the market doesn't materialize for you, we'll be here. And I would imagine that happened after the draft, after the teams that drafted their franchise quarterbacks had made their decisions and went away from Cam. And then after free agency, obviously, and they obviously saw a market that probably wasn't materializing. They probably thought they had a shot, and maybe they set a date on it. You know, if by July it doesn't happen, give us a call and we'll make it happen. So that's how I imagine things played out.
It seems like the Pats are pretty high on Stidham despite the Newton signing, and we got to see him here for a little while when he was at Baylor before the transfer to Auburn. Just what are kind of the overall thoughts on Stidham and, you know, his potential as the future, of the franchise?
Well, they obviously liked him enough to let Tom Brady walk out the door without even a contract offer. So they're high on him, but still it's not as simple as saying Tom Brady's gone, now Jarrett Stidham is a starting quarterback, and the Patriots will continue that role. I think Jarrett Stidham or any other young quarterback put into any situation like that, the success rate is pretty low. I mean, how many quarterbacks come into the league every year and end up thriving? So I'm not saying Stidham can or cannot be that guy, but you do get the sense that the fact that they have been involved with Newton means they weren't totally all in on Stidham, which means, like I said, the offense was going to be a little bit simplified. The offense was going to be a lot different than what we've seen. Josh McDaniels probably would have, sort of had restrictors on everything he wanted to do, and now I think it opens up a little bit, and the team can be a little bit more dynamic, provided Cam Newton, can be somewhat close to the player that he was 5 years ago.
How much have you gotten to know, and I know that with the Patriots, access is the way it is, but we got to know Jarrett. We've had him on, in fact, a handful of times when he was at Baylor, when he left Baylor, and when he was at Auburn, and even with the Patriots. He's a very confident young man. Do you feel like he would be disappointed today?
Oh, I would imagine. And I think, preseason is preseason. But what he did last year in the preseason was pretty much either on par or a little bit better in some areas. It was as good as Jimmy Garoppolo in 2014. And the Patriots have obviously brought in a number of quarterbacks drafted and undrafted rookies, whether it be, Hoyer, Mallett, Stidham, going back further, O'Connell, Castle. There's been a lot of quarterbacks throughout the Brady era, and only Garoppolo and Stidham really had that kind of showing where they showed command as rookies. They delivered the ball well. It's not to say they were ready to take over the team, but they showed a lot of promise. And I think Stidham showed that a lot in his game action last year. He utilized some of the receivers that Brady wasn't even able to activate, like Jacoby Myers for one. They had a good connection, and in terms of post game, he looks the part. Stidham does. So I do think Stidham. I don't think his NFL career ended when they signed Cam Newton. I would categorize it as at least a 1 year setback.
Do they have the weapons for Cam Newton to really show out?
Well, there's certainly question marks there. Julian Edelman is 34 years old. What he did at 33, coming off the injuries and the suspensions and all that. Like last year, Edelman was unbelievable. Can he do it again? I mean, I guess it's possible because he's done that before, where you kind of count him out. But you certainly wouldn't put all your eggs in the 34-year-old receiver's basket who gets hit as hard as he does for a living. N'Keal Harry, we still don't really know what he is as an NFL player. His rookie season was basically a wash after suffering an injury in the preseason. They drafted a couple tight ends. The running back group is very solid, which I think helps whoever the quarterback is, from James White, Sony Michel, and Damian Harris. Had a very productive career at Alabama, as I'm sure you know. And then last year, you couldn't find him. He only dressed, I think, 3 times, and he might have had 1 carry all season long. So the running back group is still pretty strong. The offensive line should be a little bit better than last year. So I think the offense could be more functional. I don't think it's a dynamic, explosive offense where you have weapons all across the board. But given what Newton brings, I think there's a lot more flexibility with what they can do on the offensive side of the ball that makes – if I'm watching the game, I know that it's going to be a lot more fun to watch this offense than what it was going to be last Saturday.
So what are the expectations, you think, now? What are the expectations for the Patriots this season?
It's funny because despite all that, despite the kind of down year last year and losing Brady, everyone was kind of like, well, they're still going to win the division, right? But I looked at it, as before yesterday, as saying the Bills, this was the Bills' division to lose because they were right there last year. Their defense is imposing. They played the Patriots twice last year. They lost once by 7 and once by 6. And that was the difference between winning and losing the division. They basically played a division championship in Week 16 in Foxborough, which was a great game. And those two teams were basically equal, and the Patriots had just a little more. So I looked at it as the Bills, as the AFC East, favorites going into the season. Now that Newton's there, I think that is enough for me to lean back toward the Patriots, just because that feels like someone who can win you 1 or 2 or 3 more games than an inexperienced Jarrett Stidham. So I would think that's reasonable expectations. I think beyond that, it still feels like a stretch because the Patriots, they had the best defense in the league last year, and what did that get them? They didn't win a playoff game. They lost at home to Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill. They got run over by Derrick Henry. So I don't see them as having taken this massive step forward, especially when the top pick in the draft that they took was out of, Lenoir-Rhyne University, which I have to look up every time I write it. So So, I don't see them, being Super Bowl favorites. They should be a playoff team. They should win the division. Beyond that, I think it's hard to say that they'll be, sitting in the AFC title game like they were for a decade.
But they would not – do you think they would be favorites without Cam?
I don't. I mean, not that Josh Allen is the savior. I don't like Josh Allen as a quarterback. If I invested in him as a franchise quarterback, I wouldn't sleep at night. But I think that team is built in Buffalo to to play hard and to play gritty and to win games. And I really like that Buffalo team. But like I said, I think Cam just makes that little bit of a difference where it's, 27-21 in the fourth quarter. He's a guy that can do things that most people can't when he's at his peak. Granted, this is all a waste of time for me to say all this if you get the Cam Newton of 2018 and 2019. So it's a risk in that sense, but I think the ceiling and the potential makes it all worth it.
Well, Michael, and I'm saying this tongue-in-cheek based on the article I read, at least the NFL stopped the Patriots' nightmare cheating on the Bengals.
Oh, yeah, and it's funny because when the news comes out, like, all right, they're punished third-round pick, and I think most normal human beings have not been following this saga closely for 7 months because life is a little bit more important than a videographer shooting the field in Cleveland on a Browns-Bengals game in early December in dreary Cleveland. So they played this one, the NFL did, by just saying, like, let's wait 6-7 months and then just release it, and no one will remember what happened. So I think that's what happens. It's sort of it's like a cycle here. Every few years we get these quote-unquote scandals, and then we get to, follow them closely and react to them. But, yeah, it was definitely not the type of violation that would generally bring about a third-round pick, but this is the Patriots and this is Roger Goodell, so it was pretty much expected.
I thought, and just kind of glancing over your timeline, did you write something or did the website, or is it you that wrote something that it was kind of ridiculous and bogus?
Yeah, it really, I mean, it's strange to say this, and everyone, you can't say it with a straight face, and you can't say it with anyone believing you, but really when you follow what happened, what was admitted to right away, what was admitted to the next day, it really comes across as an honest mistake from a guy who is just filming B-roll for an online video feature about the advanced scout who was watching the game. And then you see the footage, and it's just the same thing that any guy could see from the stadium. There was no zoom-ins on coaches or signals or anything. It was just a guy doing something wrong, getting caught, admitting to it, turning it over, and the NFL turned it into a 7-month quote-unquote investigation where they kind of, reached the conclusion they wanted to reach despite not getting the evidence for it. So it's, again, we are up here in New England, we are well-versed in the methods of the NFL's investigation process. So certainly was not a surprising result.
Yeah, it's almost like, okay, we got to do something.
Yeah.
We got to.
Yeah. They know that nobody's going to cry for the Patriots and no one's going to care. So they can basically do whatever they want. I think generally it increases interest. The more people hate the Patriots, the better it is for NFL business. So they know that there's not going to be, any public outcry over it. So they can basically, I'm sure Goodell would have liked to do another first-round pick, but given the lack of any tying to the football operations, he settled for a third. He's probably not happy about it, but he'll probably sleep well at night.
Yeah, he's probably not, but he's also probably not sitting back going, well, that'll teach Belichick. I finally got him.
Yeah. No, it's hopefully it's like a Tom and Jerry type battle that can go on for the next decade because it's pretty good.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it as always. It's good to have you, Michael Hurley, WBC TV, CBS affiliate in Boston on the Patriots. Cam Newton, Jarrett Stidham, again in the crosshairs of Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell gets a phone call, text, call, hey. The Patriots, oh, dear God.
Well, Dave Portnoy of Barstool had, I thought, some great thoughts on Goodell, or he's had over time, of just how not fun the guy is. Like, he can't be in on the joke or even have a little bit of fun with it. I don't know if you saw where Portnoy a few months ago, they were auctioning off the opportunity. Gosh, what was it exactly? It was to, watch the Super Bowl with Goodell or something along those lines. It was like a watch-along thing in a suite, and Portnoy won the bid. And then because they found out that it was him who won it, and he's already had dust-ups with the NFL previously, they canceled his bid, and his whole thing was you just can't have any fun. That would have actually been fun to see Portnoy and Goodell have to sit there and talk to each other for an entire game, but no fun, Roger. So,
well, he's got those. Portnoy really made the thing that got him to that next level was the clown shirts.
Yes, the Roger Goodell clown T-shirt.
That was huge. And look, if I were Roger Goodell, I would want nowhere near it. It would be one of those things in the sitcoms when somebody's bidding on an auction, that old trope where it's no, bid all you got. I don't want to do this because he can't win in that one.
Well, no.
He can't win.
I thought he got to the point where by near the end of the first night in the NFL draft, he was almost as if he had gotten home from a binge. But he kind of got loose, a little more loose. Darren Heitner, remember the UCLA Under Armour story?
Yeah.
Adult entertainment webcam company Cam Soda is offering UCLA $205 million over 10 years to fill the void left by Under Armour. You got to read it.
I was reading part of something else about that, and one of the sports legal experts felt like Under Armour doesn't really have much of a case here, and they don't have really much ground to stand on as far as what they are saying is their reasoning, because you heard the reasoning. It was very vague. It was like there wasn't an exact reason given. It was just like we haven't got our money's worth without really saying exactly why. So they don't have much to really fall back on as far as the reason they're making. It sounds to me like it's just a business decision because they realize, oh, crap, we're playing UCLA hundreds of millions of dollars and they're not winning anything.
They're not winning. Plus, here's the thing about UCLA. Yeah, they're not winning. Those colors are weird anyway. That's one of those colors that if they were, if you asked them for shirts, like if they were going to just give away shirts, they would give away that color. UCLA.
Here's the letter from Cam Soda to Mr. Martin Jarmon, who's the AD, I guess. The news of Under Armour's decision this past weekend to terminate that has caused quite a stir in the sports world. It's not something any athletic director ever wants to deal with, especially when it's your first week on the job. In light of this, I'd like to formally extend a $205 million 10-year contract to have Cam Soda, a leading adult entertainment webcam company, to become the new official partner of UCLA Athletics. With our passion for all sports, we would love nothing more than to become affiliated with UCLA, one of the college sports blue blood programs. We will provide financial support along with equipment and apparel for all of the Bruin sports. In return, our logo will appear on all team uniforms. The blue and gold will go smashing with our logo. If interested, reach out to me, Darren Parker, Vice President Cam Soda. I look forward to hearing from you.
There are two details of that. One, there's going to be a time in college athletics that there's an athletic director that would be desperate enough to do that. And it may be soon, given the pandemic. Two, what does it say about our country that a pornographic campsite can easily make a $205 million offer to UCLA without batting
blinking
an eye?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I think it says everything. I think it says every single thing. Apparently, Cal was also, I guess, Under Armour trying to sever their ties with Cal as well. So that would be two Pac-12 schools they're looking to get out from underneath. But, hey, when you sign 15-year contracts worth $100 million plus, then,
That's also at ESPN. I wonder, they made a 15-year contract with the Longhorn Network. I wonder what's going to happen at the end of that thing.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I haven't heard anything about the Longhorn Network in a long time. All I know is it was forced onto my cable package. You know what I mean? Not forced as in I'm not paying for it. I guess I technically am, under all the tiny, print. But, yeah, I think they kind of made up for nobody ordering the Longhorn Network outside of UT fans by just making everybody have it. So maybe that helped recur some cost of it. I don't know. But last I looked, a couple of years ago when it was being talked about, that wasn't doing very well. So now, who knows?
So Baylor Athletics, I mentioned this at the start of the segment, released their testing details and a even more detail-oriented. So what happened is they have 5 new cases. However, there were 8 last week.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are 10, which means 3 former active cases are now inactive.
So they're in the bottom queue.
So there's 10 overall cases there's 10 overall cases. There were 5 new cases, which means 3 dropped out. That's a sign of positivity because 3 cases became no longer active.
That's real good.
And there's some that are, still have to be careful with tracking and some of those numbers. But that, concerning other programs, Craig, you monitor this as much as anybody. That's again, next week it explodes. Yeah. Who knows? Or could. That there appear to be ahead of the case of most everybody. so far.
I mean, there's like a handful of schools that have had 0, but outside of that, yeah, they're pretty okay. I mean, it's certainly better than Clemson and certainly better than UT, although I haven't seen an update on them in quite some time, and better than, some others out there for sure. I mean, I'll take 10 active cases and just an increase of 5 given the numbers that we're seeing just in Waco alone. It's shooting up every day and much less all around the country. So, yeah, that's good. I mean, as much as good positive coronavirus cases can be, Baylor's news is actually pretty good, and I like the more detailed use of it. I mean, there's a lot of numbers because it's like you're reporting there's like 13 positives, but 10 are active, and this and that. But, I mean, I'm glad to know it.
And the way I explained it was because there are some that are saying that there are now 13 positive tests. Yes, there have been 13 over the 3 weeks' time, but there are 10 active cases. 3 of them dropped off. 6 that are symptomatic and 4 asymptomatic. New cases 5, but instead of 8 to 5 and 13 active cases at just 10. 0 would be the perfect number, and that might be also impossible.
Well, and this isn't all just football. We don't know who all they've tested, and they were 400 athletes away as of last week from all of the onboarding being done, so they probably brought in like another 75 to 100 this week, and so if you're only getting that many positive, I mean, it's kind of the rate we're seeing now, it's starting to get to like the 1 in 10 people have it kind of number. And so that would be about in that area, maybe a little bit less, but we're starting to get into the 1 in 10 territory for everybody that thinks like, oh, well, there's only 100 cases in a city of 100,000, but you start to really break it down. So given the numbers that we see right now, and it's shooting past 10% in the state of Texas, the positivity rate. I think it's almost up to 15 actually now that I was reading earlier today. That's actually really good. So hopefully it stays that way.
Yep.
And hopefully it gets that way for those who it hasn't been that way for.
Yeah, but tomorrow we'll have Andy Staples on his top 300.
Well, we're going to go through
recruiting service of restaurants.
We're going to go through all of them
No.
in painstaking detail.
You know what I didn't see much of? Just 1 or 2 out of Kansas City. You'd think that
he
that would be
cover
a hub.
that area of the country all that much.
So we'll have Gatesville's head coach Luke Howard, Jerry Levias. We'll have Andy Staples. Mac Rhodes this week is Wednesday. We'll have Cliff Odom, former Baylor defensive back, David Hellman, I believe, and also John McClain. And that's just what we have for now. There will be more as well. And the possibility of Kyle Jones, who won on the Corn Ferry tour. What is that? Is that what is that? What is it?